Hello everybody and welcome to the Bobbins Awards for 2024, where we take a look back at the not so goodest bits of the last 12 months of Coronation Street. I never know how to
the least goodest bits.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it really. I feel kind of mean. Do you feel like we're mean?
Yeah, I do.
We've been doing this for so long now. It kind of feels like bad, and then we kind of kicking it a little bit. You know.
No, because look, it's only bad when you're punching down, right?
Yeah.
Or like kicking someone when they're, on
we
the
still
floor.
love Corrie.
We're not punching down. Who are we? Nobody. Coronation Street's been going for like 5 years. They're like the greatest show on ITV. They bring in millions of pounds a year. What are we, like a tiny little fly?
Yeah,
so
two
that's
bit
fine.
nothings. They could do a Bobbins Award about us if they like.
They're not on the ropes, are they? They're doing fine.
They're doing fine.
People
Corrie's
love
doing
it.
Fine. And
Coronation Street's doing really well. I saw, I think one of the things that's been going on recently in the last couple of years is that everyone's been going, oh, EastEnders is so much better than Coronation Street. Oh, it's really great. And then I've seen, again, this always happens, people going, I'm not loving it at the moment. I don't think EastEnders is very good at the moment.
All soaps have the peaks and troughs.
That happens all the time, exactly. So it doesn't matter.
I've actually been, I've been quite enjoying it the last few weeks anyway. But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about what we enjoyed.
We're just justifying why we're allowed to criticise. They don't even know who we are.
I just feel
we say what we want.
I just kind of feel bad because everyone's kind of ragging on Coronation Street in the past 12 months, haven't they? They've faced their fair share of criticism, and now we've got this. But we're saying it in a funny way, so it's different, right?
Yeah, but
does that make it
I
okay?
said before too, it's like being horrible about someone in your family.
Yes.
You can be horrible about someone in your family, but if someone else starts having a go, you're like, excuse me.
That's right.
It's none of your business.
We are part of the Corrie family, after all. So if you haven't seen or heard of Bobbins Awards before, we've got some categories like with our normal Conversation Street Awards, but don't worry, you've not missed the vote. We wouldn't get people to vote on things like this. This is just us.
That seems a step too far.
That does seem a step too far. This is just us talking about it. Yeah, it's all on us. If people don't like it, you can be blamed squarely on us. And we're going to decide whether we can pick an overall victor for each of our categories.
I thought you were going to say victim.
Victim.
Right,
I think in the Bobbins Awards they're much the muchness, aren't they? And hopefully have a little fun along the way.
And this is no reflection upon anybody who works on the show and the actors. Don't take it personally. It's not about you.
Right, come on. Disclaimers aside, we need to get cracking with this, and we're going to be starting off with the Do One New One Award, where we look at
mean.
We look at this is quite a mean one to start with, isn't it? The worst new character of 2024, and I mean,
Bobby on that. Yeah, Bobby. It's Bobby.
Well, come
Bobby.
on, let's let everybody have a chance here. It could be a main character, it could be a side character,
it could be Bobby.
It could be Bobby.
Sorry, it's Bobby.
Do you want
next?
No, we come on. Let's go through this properly.
So who have we got then?
You say why it should be Bobby. You say why it should be Bobby.
No one likes him. He's silly.
You tell me what you think about Bobby. If you've been the one that says it's got to be Bobby,
everyone
don't just
knows.
blame everyone else's
Nobody
opinion
likes
on
Bobby. Nobody likes him.
No, some people do. I know that some people definitely do.
Lots of people like Jack Carroll, and that is certainly an opinion that I would share. Jack Carroll is a great stand-up comedian. He's done very well for himself. He's very funny, but that doesn't translate into being a beloved character. As we know from painful histories past, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be liked.
No.
Just because you are...
Well, you tell me what you don't like about Bobby then. Come on, let's hear it.
He's not funny. He's creepy. He's a perv. He comes along... He's like what's it called? A gooseberry.
Yeah.
He's a massive gooseberry. He's kind of annoying Carla. He's always around when he shouldn't be.
He does have the good decency to go and visit his gran occasionally, doesn't he?
He got kicked out without a word by his aunt.
He's already starting to kind of get to the stage where he's becoming a bit of a knowing joke, isn't he? You know how Craig is at the moment. Everyone's just like, Officer Tinker, what's he like? And Bobby's already like, yeah. People are kind of a bit annoyed when he's there. I think he's come on. He's not as bad as he was when he first came in. You know, obviously, the very first episode that he was in, it was just crack after crack, wasn't it? Attempted, but it just fell flat.
It didn't. The delivery didn't work. I think they were trying to do a hybrid between a stand-up comedian and a soap character, because obviously the jokes, a soap character, probably the easiest comparison is Kirk.
Yeah.
Kirk doesn't deliver his lines like he's speaking to an audience.
Yeah, no.
But it always felt like Bobby was like, I know that I'm a character and I'm observing the hilarious antics and making a joke like I'm sitting in the front room with you. It just doesn't work on Coronation Street. No.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's just imagine. We'll say maybe he might win, but can we just run down? Is there anyone else that could come second to you?
Well, who else is on the list?
Well, we've got, I think that I might want to give and I know that there's no competition really, I might want to give like Elspeth a shout out.
I've forgotten who that is.
That's Helen Lederer, isn't it?
No.
Do you remember she came in for
that
one
would be
episode?
A very close second just because of how like...
That was a really hyped...
Do you think I'm a mug? Seriously, why are you putting Helen Lederer in for half an episode?
That was a weird inclusion. It clearly was to get a bit of promo for her book.
I mean, we say that. It was
quite a funny scene.
We don't know. It just seems so obvious.
It seemed to coincide so handily, didn't it?
It's like it was written for... I don't think it was written for her. I think they thought,
no, I think it was.
No, I don't think it was, because why would you give her half an episode?
As somebody with the calibre of Helen...
If I'm putting on my tinfoil hat here, I'm going... They approached ITV and said, we want a promotion package. This is, we're prepared to pay for whatever, this much. And they went, why doesn't she... Does she want to guest star on Coronation Street? We've got this, half episode character she could play. Do you want to do that and also Loose Women and Good Morning Britain? And she was like, how much?
Yeah,
I really do not know. But if you told me it was a package deal and they just went, somebody at ITV phoned up Coronation Street and went, you got to get Helen Lederer in. I don't care how much. They've got
Harriet Thorpe on EastEnders now,
I don't care how long for or what she's doing. Next week, she's going to come in and she's going to do something. And they went, crap.
Yeah, it's a bit like when they had it's a bit with the AA scene, Peter and Blanche at the AA meeting. That was something that Jonathan Harvey had to write because he had some scenes to fill.
Yeah, we know that they do that sometimes.
And I do wonder. I don't know. I might also, throw into the mix.
So you got Denny.
Yeah, I was going to say Denny, Paul's dad. He seemed just a little bit.
Purpose.
Not a whole lot of purpose. I don't think the story would have been
more than Elspeth.
Oh yeah, he said more of a purpose than Elspeth, but I would have liked to have liked his dad. But then with Kit on the scene, and I don't think Kit's really in contention here as a Do One New One award winner.
Lots of people would put him higher than Bobby. Lots of people really hate him.
Yeah, I know.
I don't.
I'm not a massive Kit fan.
No, I like him more than you do. I find him
by which I mean a fan of massive Kit because he is so tall. But yeah, he's been useful enough in this past year.
He's driven so much. I mean, what do you want a bad character? What are the characteristics?
I just think it's a kind of maybe it's just like a character that I kind of want to go away. So maybe we do just need to go back.
Kit would definitely be high on people's lists.
Yeah, I would also. I'd maybe do a shout out for like Joel's parents. I never really. I was never really.
Gus.
Yeah, they didn't really.
I was intrigued
do it for
when
me.
Gus turned up when Joel went missing, and we had that theory that he might be involved, but when it was obvious he wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't like them, and also even like Logan and Matty. We being fairly ineffective villains. Maybe I'll come to that with a later category.
I don't know about that.
But I think we probably should be Bobby because he is a main character. He's got enough hate behind. Hate's a strong word. He's wound enough people up.
The only thing I'll
we've
say,
given him a chance.
The only thing I'll say is that there have been plenty of characters who've come in who've been crap in their first year, but they've turned it around.
That is not wrong. That is not wrong at all.
Just because we're saying we're saying do one new one, but we also mean like we're perfectly willing for you to turn the ship around. Do you remember Slaggy Steph? If you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, you'll remember Slaggy Steph Britton, who was Luke's sister. We hated her for the first year, and then they managed to turn her around, and she was actually really great. I really liked that character. I think that her to stay.
We're a little bit in that possible turnaround period for Bobby in that he's not just there to deliver one-liners anymore, but
they're just not funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, but they're not.
Okay, well, do a new one. I think definitely Bobby. I think that's a fair shout for that one.
I mean, I wanted to call this the Bobbins Awards this year in honour of how
Instead
crap
of the
Bobby
Bobbins
is.
Award, yeah.
But Michael wouldn't let me
I
because
can't
it's
do
too
that.
mean.
That's too rude. Right, the next category is the Grey Hoodie Award, which is where we talk about the worst, least effective villain. Least menacing villain on the street. This is named after a story, God, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Simon was being joined into a gang, wasn't he? He was being lured into the dark side, and to show that he had reached the ranking of menacing thug, then he was given a grey hoodie to wear. So we had some good baddies, some bad baddies last year, but which one just kind of made you quiver in your boots the least?
What?
I think the Warner Brothers, or the Radcliffes, the Warners as we call them, because they spent most of the time just warning people that they were going to do something. It could be a good shout. I mean, I don't know whether we could have a double winner for those. It depends who the competition is. Would you say that out of Matty and Logan, one of them is?
To me, is the least menacing because I just think he's got a very aristocratic face, and I know that you're not supposed to stereotype, and that you're supposed to look beyond, and there's a lot of good work that can be done on soaps to challenge stereotypes and expectations. But I don't think hiring someone who looks like he could be in Pride and Prejudice to be like a council estate villain who menaces people.
Yeah, I mean, we can't count the fact that he did that hostage situation the other week, because that was in 2025. But yeah, driving around in a bright yellow car, he's not going to put the fear of God into too many people.
He just looks like Mr. Darcy's friend, and I want that. I mean,
at least Logan's got more of a look with the shaved head and
so much on his looks, because I don't think nothing I've said is insulting at all. Being called aristocratic and saying you look like Mr. Darcy's friend, I think it's a huge compliment.
I look like Mr. Darcy's friend.
I'm not going to apologise or back down, because I feel like if you take it on the chin, this is a good thing to be saying. Like, you do not look like a thug at all. You look like you know how to do cross stitch. You just do.
And that's not what you want
from
your local thug down the alley, is it? Down the precinct. We could also, I might throw Harvey into contention there. He did a little bit of Harvey's low-key menacing
octopus
from prison, didn't he?
He's got his tendrils everywhere at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's fairly tough.
He's scary. Yeah. You've got Griff on this list too, and Griff nearly killed Roy. So
yeah, he was pretty good, wasn't he?
I
think some people would say that Rowan should be up for discussion here as well, because I know among some people Rowan was not a very favourite character, but I loved him. I was entertained throughout the year, and he's a different villain. He's not supposed to be a thug in the same way as the others were, although back in the past when he was Luke Salter, he was.
I think also
I enjoyed him, so there's no way he's picking up this prize tonight.
Being a grey hoodie, I think there's an element of violence.
Yeah,
and I think the only time we've ever seen him in a violent altercation, he was getting punched in the face.
Punched in the face by Nick.
So it doesn't count.
Yeah, we could talk with Denny again.
Denny,
loitering about in the church, stealing wheelchairs
with bad intentions.
I don't feel like he was bigged up enough as a villain to let us down. I think to be a Grey Hoodie Award winner, you've kind of got to be bigged up a little bit as being scary, but just not really be able to pull
not
it
live
off.
Up to it. Dean.
Yeah, a drug dealer, Dean.
What about the guy who pitched up and said, "Oh, Paul's my mate," and then robbed Billy? What happened there? Do you remember? Did he do something with his passports or something, and that nothing ever came of it?
Who was that?
The guy that was like, "Oh, I'm his friend. I used to go to school with him," and then everyone was like, "Why are you letting him?"
Was that last year or was that the year before?
No, last year.
Oh yeah, there wasn't there?
He was rubbish.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
I think I'm kind of.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I'm kind of erring towards Matty here.
Sorry, Matty.
If you're going to be a gang member on Corrie, you got to be able to be intimidating somewhat. And although, if he was towering over me, because he's definitely got a few inches.
I wouldn't be scared
in the
of
height
him.
Department. I think I might be.
No, I think
I might be just a little bit if I had.
I'd be like, "Oh, sorry.
Back me up against the wall in the
precinct
directions
for Bridgerton? Not here."
Oh dear, well, hopefully for Matty, his time behind
too
bars
beautiful
now,
to
he'll be
be-
able to learn how to be a proper wrung'un. So when he comes out, he'll be a lot more threatening. And I know that's not really the point of prison. It's
He's going
supposed
to have to
rehabilitate you, but maybe this debilitates him, I don't know.
He's going to have to unlearn how to set a table with all of the cutlery, which I'm sure he knows. He could be a butler. He could be the new Albert. He just looks posh.
Let's give him a few years. Okay, Grey Hoodie Award winner, Matty it is. Right, the Mardiest Mare Award. Gemma, as our podcast resident woman and the Mardiest of the two of us, do you want to say a little bit about this?
I win the Mardiest Mare Award every year. There's certainly people who would line up around the corner to say how much of a Mardiest Mare I am, and some of them give us 1-star reviews because of it. So I know what I'm talking about when I say that the following women are Mardiest Mares.
So
Leanne and Toya, definitely. And I don't know whether...
we need to describe it. Mardy being kind of... Yeah. Well, how would you describe it? Narky, annoyed, permanently scowling.
Fed up, not taking any of your
better
nonsense.
than everyone else.
This is how women should be in this current era. Just don't take it anymore, girls. Just say, no, not having it, I'm Mardy. I'm just... Why should I be nice to you?
Say it with a sneer.
All of these women would quite likely to have be kind in their Twitter bio. Because quite often I find people that have be kind in their Twitter bio just turn out to be the biggest bitches in the world. But Leanne and Toya definitely. And I don't know whether Toya's worse. Because I think Leanne's got this spirit of chaos and like this kind of like whimsical, like, you know... Yeah, just like...
I don't think Toya's been that
low-key
Mardy
kind of...
this past year.
Toya it's kind of got no joy in being Mardy. That makes her worse. At least Leanne's enjoying it.
So is it that Toya's just kind of miserable? We do have the Weatherfield Waterworks category later up to celebrate our best crier of the year, and maybe Toya fits more into that.
Do you think it's... I don't know, because Leanne's had a brush with a cult that stole her money, but I think that Toya's had a worse, sadder, you know...
Yeah.
It feels like a more tragic time. She's had cancer.
She's had
she had a baby
memories brought back
trauma,
to life,
and she's lost her family because you know her stepdad died and her sister won't talk to her apart from to order champagne.
But I think she's come out at the end, you know, positive enough that I don't think she's a Mardy
really,
Mare here. I think Leanne's the Mardier of the two sisters. But
we're
equally,
talking about them at all when Lauren's in this list.
Yeah, I know. It is kind of
a moot point.
Dancing around. It is really. It's kind of got to be Lauren. Because she hasn't really smiled. She did smile just recently, but again, that's 2025. It didn't count.
She smiled because she got away with murder.
I'm not convinced that in 2024 we saw a whole lot of positivity for Lauren. And, you know, she was Mardy when Bobby was trying to come on to her. And I know, you know, I don't want to victim blame or anything. She did have some bruises. She was Mardy when she got kidnapped. She was Mardy when she came back to the hospital. She was Mardy when she was having a baby. She was Mardy when she was trapped in his flat. She was Mardy when she clunked Joel over there. It's just, yeah, she's just
relentlessly Mardy.
Yeah, it's like she entered into a gurning contest 5 years ago and nobody remembered to tell her that it was over and she could stop now. So I think the wind changed and her face stayed that way, didn't it, really? And I know she's got an awful lot to be Mardy about, but some people can just take life's troubles on the chin and say, oh, well, worse things happen at sea. And you're just not getting that from Lauren. When I picture her, I picture this po-faced misery of a girl. And I hope that we can turn things around here. I trust that we might do, but she's...
Not saying anything. Bethany is pretty Mardy, I think.
She's Mardy in a more entertaining way.
I don't know how good she is at sniping at Daisy. I think Daisy gets the lion's share of the funny quips.
Or maybe that's what makes Bethany so Mardy, because I would say that in a battle of wits between the two ladies, Daisy's more reliable and more likely to come out on top. Which
definitely thinks she's cleverer.
Well, you know, she's got a very important writing job, hasn't she?
Yeah, exactly.
Daisy's not been headhunted by any top London magazines twice. But yeah, Bethany, she did for a spell last year go through a particularly Mardy stage, didn't she? With a Daniel and Daisy love triangle and everything that was happening there. But I think Lauren's got to get it. Violet was fairly Mardy. for the little bit of time that we saw her. Dylan's mum. I don't think it's fair to give her this award though, because she only was Mardy for a few episodes and she bogged off back down to London again.
Rightfully Mardy. Yeah.
What about Beth?
Beth has been constantly Mardy.
She has, hasn't she? She was, she was quite industrious and maybe feeling a bit positive about her secret label sewing endeavours. But I just feel, I think that when you got Lauren in a pool here, it's got to be her, hasn't it? She outmards the lot of them. Are we happy to go for Lauren?
I might even go as far as to say that in all the history of the Bobbins Awards and its various iterations, that she might be the Mardiest Mare of all.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because, we've had in previous years, I'm sure that Beth has won it before.
Yeah.
Michelle, I'm sure, has won it a few times as well. Just, standing there with her arms crossed, scowl on her face. But, yeah, Lauren's just fun.
Lauren wins. Congratulations.
Congratulations,
You're not going to
Lauren.
enjoy this prize.
Mardiest Mare of 2024. And now we are not a sexist podcast, are we? We don't just rag on the women of the street.
Why not join in everybody else? Why not?
We like to mention the Dirty Dogs as well. And this is a man-only award.
That's because we're not going to stigmatise women for their sexuality, are we? Only men. Yes. Finally, there's time to shame men.
Yeah. People who can't keep it in their trousers.
Disgusting animals.
Quite. I think, on the whole, compared to recent years, 2024's not been so bad for infidelity.
They've been quite chaste, the men.
Yeah, I would say so.
We've only got 4 obvious candidates.
Well, that's all that I could think of. I mean, looking at the nominations.
I mean, Daniel, actually, add Daniel because he had an affair.
Oh, yeah, you could have Daniel, actually. He could be 5.
Because he's, if you're in a Who's the Daddy story, you have to be a nominee.
I think that if you have... I know he was on a break, but come on.
Come on, you dirty dog.
That if you've literally cheated on somebody, that gives you a whole lot of points when we're trying to pick whether you are the dirtiest of the dogs. But then, Nick, I'm really thinking could be up there. He was. I know Leanne had disconnected emotionally, but they were still together. I mean, there was one point earlier last year they were actually going to get married, weren't they? She went down on one knee for him, and and he had it off with her sister.
Grace.
I think that is pretty unforgivable.
I think next year we need to open Mardy Mare and Dirty Dog to all genders.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm quite happy with it.
Disagree.
What about is Kit a bit of a dirty dog? I don't know whether
he's a player.
Yeah.
I think that's being a dirty dog, isn't it?
Just going from woman to woman.
Yeah, like
because he,
with a big penis.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't know.
It's probably what's the word?
Proportionate.
Yeah.
Do you think? Well,
I haven't thought about it.
Well,
and I'd rather not.
Now you put the idea in listeners' heads.
Everyone's thinking about it. I'm sorry, everybody.
Look, he had it off with Shona. I remember there was a scene where some random woman came out of Red Bank one time that had been having a red bonk with him.
That's right. Because Daisy saw that, didn't she? And Daisy.
Yeah.
Obviously. And he's been flirting with everybody.
He has really, hasn't he?
And that's not right.
He has. Daisy, obviously. It took him a little while to get warmed up to it, but now he's rediscovered his libido. Then it feels like there's no stopping him at the moment. So I don't know whether he should be the dirty dog or whether it's somebody like Nick who's literally cheated. Obviously, Joel. It has not even been discussed
yet. I think Joel gets dirty dog because
Do you think? Go on, justify Joel
because he's cheated on the only women we've ever known that he's dated. He's cheated on all of them. He cheated on Emily back in the day. That's why she kicked him to the curb. Yeah. He had Ellie at one point, and Ellie was kind of like a stand-in for every woman that he's ever dated. Because you assume if there's one, there's got to be more. And then also he's cheating on Dee Dee, and he cheated on Lauren, even though Lauren knew that he was going out with Dee Dee because she mentioned it. And who else?
Who else has there been? Yeah, I mean, we don't get the impression that there's been a string of women, but the fact that he was going out with... Well, not a huge string.
There's like he's got his respectable women that he lets his parents meet, and then he's got his everyone else.
His
and
CD
there's
not so.
innumerable.
Yeah, I think it wasn't just the fact that he was seeing two women at once. I suppose Nick is an honourable dirty dog.
Dirt.
Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? We saw just how vile and
it gets too serious.
Grubby,
Joel, really.
He was with them.
It's not a funny little joke like he was an abusive rapist.
Yeah, chasing
dirty
them around.
Dog, we call it around these parts.
Chasing her around, telling her she liked it rough.
Beating her up.
It made your skin crawl. Some of those flashbacks
Disgusting.
that we've seen between them. But
he wins.
I think you're right. Actually, I think it's got to be Joel, Dirty Dog of 2024.
And we're not printing out a funny certificate like we did with Imran.
Oh yeah, we did make a certificate for Imran once, didn't we? Yeah.
You're not getting it. You don't.
He was a funny dirty dog. Joel is just.
Just like this. It shouldn't
proper
be
gross. Some might say that he even deserved the fate that came to him. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think every time. I mean, Imran's dead. Joel's dead. I don't know who else won it in the past, but I think if we execute them all, perhaps the men will keep in line.
I think it's quite good for Adam that he didn't get a nomination this year, did he? Because he's often in the running for it, but he's
behaved himself.
Yeah,
by not being on the show.
Pretty much, he's been relatively celibate this year, hasn't he?
Yeah. We don't know, we just haven't seen it.
Okay, right. Let's go on to the next one then. The Give Over Award, which was it's things that happen on Corrie that we go, oh come on, that's silly. That wouldn't happen. Where we really have to suspend our disbelief to the extreme, to breaking point, and it just kind of takes you out of the show. This is the kind of thing that probably could go on forever in terms of nomination. Some of the things that we will pick up on, some other people will, and we'll go, oh yeah, that is. And other times we say, no, it's fine. But, soap has to take dramatic license, but in some ways it's just a little bit too far. So I don't know whether there's anything particularly that jumps out for you as being a give over.
This is the sort of thing that when you see it on screen, you immediately go to Twitter and say, oh, does anyone else think this is stupid? Yeah.
So is there anything that stands out to you this year that's kind of made you... Because for me, and I maybe I'm not saying this definitely should be the winner, but one of the things that really irked me last year was when Bobby was... Sorry, Bobby, it's you again. When Bobby was trying to get Roy out of prison, and he goes to the police and said, oh, I went up to Lauren's flat, and then someone came out. There was a guy in there, and he was wearing this jacket. I can't remember how he described it, this kind of beige jacket. And then it turned out that exact jacket matched one that Daniel was wearing, and then Daniel ended up getting caught. And Bobby being able to unintentionally describe somebody who is, involved and lives in the area, involved in the storyline somewhat. I thought that was a little bit too much of a jump in too much of a stretch to believe, Mm-hmm. Anything that you want to...
I think the
go
biggest
back and forth.
One to me was when Lauren was, I'm just going to hide and not tell anybody. And let Roy
maybe that's
take
worse.
The heat, and not going to really explain why I did it, and nobody looked for me, even though there were multiple times when I appeared on CCTV cameras and the police really could have found me quite easily if they'd actually bothered to look.
Yeah.
And there was a massive criminal court case going on where a man's been accused of murder, and the defence team couldn't even be bothered to look for the victim to see if the victim's actually dead. The fact that they moved so quickly to charge him with murder even though there was no body. I enjoyed the story, but this was so stupid. And I know that stuff like, Lauren explained herself. She didn't really. And everyone just forgave her in the end. I just think the whole thing was kind of a bit... I think there were so many plot holes and points where it made no sense.
There were bits that were kind of explained satisfactorily to me, but there was too much where I was left thinking, but what about X, Y, and Z?
And you never explained, and then it was never explained, and it just did it because of that. I think it was really a weak... I mean, the drama was the drama worth it? I mean, I
it was really well acted, and it was an exciting scene.
There were loads of twists.
Yeah.
I like the mystery element.
Episode was brilliant.
I just wish that there had been a bit more anticipation of the obvious
The problem with that whodunit storyline is, but by the time it was revealed that Lauren was still alive, we all knew that she was alive, didn't we? When she turned up at the hospital for Roy, I can't believe that there were loads of people that thought, oh my gosh, I thought she was dead. But yeah, you're right. I just don't buy the fact, not even just the fact that she managed to go all of those months without being caught, just the initial survival of the bludgeoning, because we saw what Joel did, pinning her down on the floor, getting the chair leg, smashing her over the head. She's got a titanium skull. She's just a wee slip of a girl. I think that being able to survive that, get out of the flat without being seen relatively quickly as well. It just didn't cut the mustard for me. It didn't hold water. And yeah, that is a big one. I think that's definitely in with a shout. Can I counteract with another one? Can I say Toya's retcon being a bit of a give over award, because I think lots of people might be shouting out for that one to take home the prize, because that really, really did stretch the limits of credulity, didn't it? And even now, I think the people who are accepting of it, they're not really fully buying into the fact. They're just saying, well, okay, it makes it easier, and I don't like to have this hanging over me and thinking that it's bothering me. That I've just kind of buried it. I think it's utterly ridiculous. It's a bit, isn't it? I've buried it and I've planted a yellow rose bush over the top of it. Now, if I think about it too much, if I go back and watch 2001 Coronation Street when Toya was supposedly pregnant, then it's just like a paradox. She couldn't have been pregnant, could she? She just couldn't.
I don't know.
What?
I know that some women never show, but I don't know what's the biological, how does that happen? And I think I'd find it quite hard to believe that those specific conditions manifested themselves conveniently in a teenage girl that, or however old she was, for the purposes of a plot that would appear 20 odd years later. And
it's not just the fact that she didn't show, though. It's the fact that
she didn't react.
The character was... Yes, the character was off screen for a small amount of time in whenever it was, October, November 2001.
They did actually go back and look and say, if you really have to do this storyline, you could say this character was not around for this certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Okay, if you need to do that, then that's, this is the... Here's your notes.
Yeah, the trouble is, if we start allowing Corrie to do this, I mean, who are we to stop them? But if we say, yeah, okay, then we'll give you this one, it's like, where does it end? They
could be doing anything when we're not watching them.
Yeah,
they could be going to the toilet.
They absolutely could.
I've never seen them do that.
Never seen it.
Even when they're trying to do a pregnancy test, you never see them do that.
So what I will say what I will say about this is, Georgia Taylor really, really sold it in her performance when she was delivering the news to Ben Price as Nick, and I think maybe that helped me to not be. Not hold on to this for so long.
I think it's really important.
She was brilliant. It was a really, really good scene.
That we keep all of these actors in Coronation Street employed somehow, as actors, and not let them do something like be in sales or something, because they would wreak havoc on everybody's... imagine the economy of this country if they were involved in selling things to people, literally.
Yeah, I'd buy anything. I'd buy anything off Georgia Taylor. She did a brilliant job.
They need to put her in charge of the eBay Reloved shop.
Yeah, she did a brilliant job with the very questionable material that was given to her. And at the end of the day as well, you think, was it worth it? So it caused a little bit of drama when they had Rose's funeral, when Rowan was doing all his meddling around there. It got brought up again when Leanne used Rose as a password when she was trying to do that scam, or make Toya look like she was doing the money scam later in the year.
Fraud.
But really, the fraud, that's the word. Really, I think that could have been achieved in other ways, and I think that for Corrie to, had it kept its integrity and said, no, that didn't happen, let's think of something else, or to help Nick to sympathise with Toya and end up, you know, bedding her eventually. That probably would have been better.
You've got to think about the goodwill and credulity of your audience, and it's a limited resource.
There's only so much that some people will take.
And I feel like they spent it on something that they should have saved up for something else. I really don't feel like it was worth it in the end. And also they're coming under fire now by, you know, this kidney charity about the medical storylines not being realistic. And I nobody's brought, you know, held them up on this, but I do wonder about young girls who might watch this and worry that the pill, the morning after pill or the emergency contraceptive pill, whatever you want to call it, is not going to help. And maybe, you know, is there somebody out there who just didn't bother taking it after they thought that they needed it because they saw on Corrie it didn't work? Because that never got addressed. If they'd only just said that she didn't take it, it would have been okay, I think. But how many girls, you know, you got to be really careful about stuff like this. There could be someone out there who watched it and was similarly assaulted in some kind of way, and then is worried that they're pregnant because Toya didn't know. It just feels like such a really serious thing to mess around with.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. It's difficult because you can't stop them from doing extraordinary stories, because that's kind of one of the things that soaps do. But to have something so far-fetched, it just feels a bit irresponsible
for me. And I've got lots of other things that I could discuss, and I think we should. I think it's worth just, you know, for the fun of it, talking about other potential niggles that we might have had with last year. I think it's probably ultimately going to come down to those two, isn't it? Have you got any other ones that particularly, you know, niggled you in a minor way?
Loads of people are going to complain about the ghosts. We've had lots of ghosts on Coronation Street. We've had Paul and we've had Richard. Seb doesn't count because that happened this year, and we're talking about 2024. But having two ghosts in the space of a month is kind of bonkers.
I mean, both of them were dreams, weren't they? So is that, you know, we're not being told you've got to believe that these characters haunted them, but just having the it becoming a bit more of a common practice on Coronation Street does kind of make me go give over, you know.
Yep.
And I think with Paul, do you remember, actually, this is the silliest part of it. It was that Bernie also had a dream about Paul. Do you remember? Because Billy was behind the factory drinking himself silly. Paul comes to visit him, and then Bernie wakes up and goes, "Oh, I think Paul might be behind the factory." She goes behind there and then sees Billy. So the idea that they both dream, that really doesn't work for me. Richard Hillman was fun, but I think that some people might. We don't particularly mind the ghosts too much, do we?
I don't mind it at all.
Well,
if the whole show was just ghosts, I'd be fine.
What else is there? What about the fact that Roy got sent to prison for murder? A lot of people had a problem with the fact that, despite the very shaky evidence base against him, he was sent down. And I'm no legal expert, but I believe the people that say that might not have happened in quite the way it did.
I'm just adding it all in to Lauren's disappearance and Roy being taken to prison. It's all the same story. That there were so many parts of that story. You could take them all individually, you know, that it's just there were too many parts of the story that didn't make any sense.
Okay.
And they didn't explain it. They just didn't.
I would say give over to, I'm going to say Aggie dumping Ed, actually, and there's no way some of these minor ones are gonna win against the big contenders, but it just didn't work for me how, you know, Aggie went away for a bit. She'd heard that Ed had his gambling problems again, and she decided not only to dump him, but just to never turn up in Weatherfield ever again. And obviously you can't help the off-screen things that are happening here, but I don't know see, this was a couple that always did seem to be very loving and close. I mean, Lorna Laidlaw spoke on the other podcast a couple of months ago and saying, "Oh, they never really hugged or kissed each other that much." But if I picture the two of them together, I think of them as being a really solid couple, you know. And the fact that Aggie would refuse to try and make amends with Ed, you know, with all the drama that her daughter was going through in 2024 as well, not show her face again, maybe it would have been better to kill her off in the same way that Corrie killed off Rana, because they said, oh, Rana and Kate could never be separated. Do you agree about Aggie?
It doesn't fit her character. Yeah.
Any other ones?
I think that one thing that I thought was a bit silly was the way that Kevin was saying, oh, Abby's having this fake, video, revenge video made of her, like a porn video. What did he say? £6,000?
He was seriously considering trying to pay $6,000 a month to have this.
£6,000.
I think it was to have this video taken down off the internet.
Why don't we just do that? What are you talking about? I tried to be fair about it because I genuinely don't know. We don't have, tons of money. We just earn money like normal people, and I don't earn very much at all. So I was thinking, maybe I am ignorant, and maybe if you own your own business, £6,000 is a reasonable amount of money that you would earn. But then I'm like, no, it's not. That's so much money. What's that? £120,000 a year? Is it before taxes? And then no, there's no way somebody who lives in a terraced house, who's got a kid also to look after and has a business, has got that much money.
£72,000 a year.
Oh, right then.
But still, I've doing along the same
£72,000 a year.
Along the lines of the Abby video, I think the fact that so many people were conned by it, and obviously we never saw this video.
It's 72,000. I don't know.
I know my 6 times table.
Everyone knows I'm stupid by now.
Yeah, the fact that everybody believed it, and it's one of these things, whenever something like that happens on Corrie, it always has to go viral, doesn't it? But Abby do you remember the scene where she was working at the garage and these two lads come along going, oh, you're the one off the video. I didn't necessarily believe that would happen.
Genuinely, there's so much porn on the internet. I don't believe for a second these lads would recognise someone's face. I don't think they're looking at that.
No. Do you think that AI Ollie is worth a shout out for the give over? The fact that
No. I don't.
The fact that it worked, and lots of people.
The concept of him, no.
The fact that Leanne bought into it. I mean, you could say that for the cult in general. I enjoyed the Institute storyline, but I think that there would certainly be a lot of people that said the whole thing about Leanne going, a savvy, street smart girl like Leanne Battersby would be taken in by a cult. I've got no problem that some people think that that's completely beyond the realms of possibility. I think that it just about fit into her personality. It didn't bug me too much. Plus, I enjoyed the storyline anyway. But having her there sitting talking to this uncanny valley version of a aged up dead son, maybe that was the point where she might have gone, no, this is a bit weird. You could also say the fact that Amy was conned by the Institute as well didn't necessarily fit with her personality, but at least she saw the light, especially during that malware session, and was like, no, I'm getting out of here. You were a bunch of freaks. Maybe that wasn't so bad on her. Anything else? Oh, I know another one. You remember when Gemma stole those shoes from the shoe shop?
Yes.
Yeah, for her very wide-footed daughter. That shoe shop just so happened to be owned by the father of one of Joseph's school friends. That's a bit of a coincidence, isn't it?
There's definitely coincidences.
Well, this is what the Give Over Award is
about, but
isn't it?
I think.
Well, partly.
Like with the AI Ollie, and would Leanne be buy into this, and would she really want, and the shoes and stuff? I think some of these you can say, look, if you're open-minded, you can get past that. But the true winners of this category are like, even with the most benevolent interpretation of reality, I cannot accept that this makes any sense at all. And I wouldn't put like the AI and the cult stuff. Sorry, but people do fall for cults all the time, and vulnerable people who have got nothing. You know, they're victims, and I don't necessarily agree that Leanne is too smart and that she wouldn't want to see her dead child, because I think that a mother would. And I think that that's really sad.
Well, there was, you know, when Ollie died, she did go into a bit of, you know, she had the mediums time. And
she did. She
had a bit of a.
She's gone to great lengths to recapture that relationship. Let's just say that, and I think it's understandable completely. So, but trying to be open-minded and like being really, you know, charitable, I still think that Lauren's story was the dumbest story of the year.
I would say so as well, and it really is a toss-up between that and Toya, isn't it? But I think the fact that I can, you know, take all the evidence, even watch back those old episodes, Georgia's performance helped sell it to me. I can just about say, oh, okay.
The thing is about that,
all right,
is that there's only a few things you have to suspend your disbelief about to kind of buy it.
You're right. You're
Whereas
absolutely
Lawrence,
right.
It's like a protracted months and months of like, well, why didn't this happen? Well, don't worry about that. Well, why didn't that happen? Well, don't worry about that. You know, why didn't the CCTV pick her up? Why didn't they look? What? She went on public transport. She was in shops. She was squatting in places.
She
also
been hit
didn't
over the
come
head.
forward. She had to survive a murder attempt, a severe one. There were so many points at which it went off the rails.
No long-term damage.
It went off the rails so many times, and we're supposed to just keep going with it. And I did go with it, and I enjoyed myself. But I'm still not gonna let him off the hook, because it was silly.
How much of Coronation Street was, you know, in inverted commas, ruined by that plot revelation compared to the Toya one, though? Because I think, you know, if you just say, okay, whatever, Lauren's back, that seems a bit odd, but let's carry on, we knew she was coming back anyway, maybe that doesn't ruin your enjoyment of the show too much. But with the Toya storyline, not only did it have a couple of weeks worth of Rose stuff going for it, but also there was the build-up. Do you remember? Because this was one of the stories that leaked in the press around, I can't remember when it was, but it was a good month or so before it aired on screen, and people were saying, this is going to be awful, I can't believe they're doing it. It felt like an awful lot of internet hate for a fairly protracted amount of time was aimed directly at that Toya retcon, and people still mention it now as being a real problem with 2024's Corrie. I don't think that as many people are clinging on to the fact that, come on, really, Lauren survived? People seem to have forgiven that.
What, like we always say, like the strength of a soap is in its continuity and the history of the characters. And if you go back in time and rewrite things, you're undermining one of the most basic, fundamental benefits of a soap, aren't you?
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I don't think many people are hung up on the stupid parts of Lauren's storyline.
I don't think they are.
So did they harm themselves more with Toya's story than they did with Lauren's?
I think so.
And I think
so, and it also does open up the possibility that it could happen again. And Lauren's didn't do that. It didn't, you know, risk damaging the integrity of the show in the long term. But if it's saying, yeah, you know what, if we didn't see it on screen, then it could have happened, which is what we're saying for Toya's, then maybe that deserves to pick up the prize.
I think also Lauren's story got buried under how much people didn't like her as a character. And I don't think people were focused as much as about complaining about like how logical the story was, so much as moaning about how they hated the character and they wished she was dead.
Yeah.
So if you want Toya to win,
I think I'm going more towards Toya winning this.
I think it was a really dangerous move to do that, and I don't feel as though the benefits outweighed the negatives.
No.
And I do think that they're going to have to work really hard to regain their credibility when it comes to storylines like this. I don't mind them doing a really clever trick where they reveal something that makes sense.
When they planted the seeds for it as well, which obviously they had no idea.
Is that, you know, like we said at the time, it did put into context a lot of Toya's struggles. and why she had so much difficulty,
Yeah, but then it also opened questions about why didn't she mention it to anyone before? Why didn't she mention it to Peter? Why didn't she mention it to the fertility doctors?
I do not find that confusing as a woman. I don't. I think that women have many secrets when it comes to things like our reproductive health, and I
you don't get
never...
any secret kids that I don't know about, do you?
Where do you think this cat came from?
Right. So Toya, you win, but Lauren did pick up an award earlier, didn't she? So it's only fair that we shared them out.
I think because she was such a Mardiest Mare, nobody cared about how confusing the story was.
Right, let's do the Can Do Something award, which is
I've got a clear winner for this.
Not so much a criticism of characters, but just kind of a wish that these characters had been used more during the year. So it's criticising the show for not making much use of this character. Yes, who would we like? Who do you want to see more in 2025? I suppose.
If you win this category, it's because we like you, I think, and we want to see more of you. And I've got a clear winner, but I've also got a very, very strong runner-up. Have
you? So I mean, I'm assuming that Jenny is your clear winner. We are big Jenny Bradley fans here on Conversation Street. But, she got 68 episodes throughout the year, and there's a lot of characters that we saw a lot less than that. I just felt like Jenny was the one that people noticed the absence of more because she's the landlady.
Too much about it. Should I tell you who my actual winner is?
Oh, was she your runner-up? I thought Jenny was your winner.
No, you just told me that it was.
Oh, go on. Who is it?
Gail.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Go on. Tell me more.
I completely understand why this happened, because I think logistically it couldn't have happened any other way. But it was a travesty and ridiculous that Gail, in her own leaving storyline, was not present for the vast majority of the time.
Yeah.
And maybe it wouldn't have been so bad if they hadn't bigged it up so much, because it was a momentous occasion. She's been in the show 50 years and then she leaves. And she did have a nice exit storyline, and there was that great twist with, Richard Hillman turning up.
Yeah.
That was all cool, but there was such a big build up to it, which, I mean, it makes sense why they tried to make a story out of it, but it's like you haven't got the ingredients. You can't make a cake out of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you haven't got any eggs or flour. You're just trying to put a bunch of sugar in a bowl and tell me that it's a cake.
I don't know whether it's kind of against the spirit of these awards to give it to a character who, clearly Helen Worth didn't want to, or she's been on some kind of decreasing contract in the past.
Helen Worth was just not going to come in for more than she was prepared to do.
No.
I think that's fair. It's good for her. Whatever she wants to do, fine. But then why build a protracted storyline? And we've also got the other stuff to consider. Don't know how much she filmed that had to get scrapped because of what happened.
Yeah, with Sean Wilson.
Which is all really unfortunate and terrible, and I feel sad for everybody involved. But you can't sit here and tell me that 40 episodes is sufficient to give Gail a send off. But everyone on Twitter was, everyone on social media, all over the place, all the different places. I didn't see anyone going, oh, well, I've seen enough of Gail, I'm glad she's going. Everyone was saying, where's Gail? Why isn't Gail in this? This is Gail's leaving storyline. And they had to plug the gap so much.
So saying that Gail's at Jessie's house.
Yeah, Gail's not here. They did the best they could.
Yeah.
But why have a months-long storyline for somebody that can only do 2 days a week? It just doesn't make any sense.
But I would still argue that Jenny's absence was more, was to the show's detriment more.
I agree.
Throughout the year.
Honestly, I missed Jenny more than I missed Gail, because Gail already, Helen Worth was already doing that schedule. It's not an
we
unusual
haven't seen a whole
year for
lot of
her.
Gail for 5 years or 10 years even.
Nobody was surprised that Gail wasn't in it, except for the fact that she was leaving.
Yeah.
But Jenny, she went from being the most featured character to where the hell is she? And we came into this year going, it's going to be a great big storyline. Cannot wait to see what happens.
Rovers
Carla versus Daisy versus Jenny in the Rovers. Brilliant, fantastic. Fallout from Stephen, stealing the money. Rovers is in decline. How are they going to turn it around? How are they going to work with Carla? All of that tension, because it's, Carla is her sort of ex-stepdaughter, but she's stolen money from her, and it was Daisy's idea, and Daisy and Jenny going to be in loggerheads. And then they went, oh no, don't worry about that. That's irrelevant. Yeah. What do you mean storyline? No, it's not a storyline. It's just a funny idea we had that we just forgot about.
And then Jenny just was here and there ever since, wasn't
Jenny
she?
is such an amazing asset to the show. Her and Daisy behind the bar are like one of my favourite duos of all time. You know, the partnership there, they should be winning partnership awards because of how great they work together. And
but
instead,
you got to show it.
Instead, we had like, you know, oh, where's Jenny? We didn't even have where's Jenny. It was like, Jenny who?
Anyone else that, you know, could be on the podium in third place or in contention, or just anyone that you know aren't really going to win here, but you really wish that Corrie had done more in
There are lots of comedy characters I wanted to see more of, but I do wonder if we didn't see them because they just can't write funny stuff anymore. Like, you know, you don't like Mary. I think Mary can be funny, but she wasn't in it. Brian too.
Brian only made 27 appearances last year. That's barely anything.
George and Dev.
Yeah, I think George was maybe a victim of Eileen not appearing in it much. I think that George and Todd as a partnership, they really have got something there, but they're just not showing it, are they?
It's difficult because of the Undertaker stuff, and I wonder if they sometimes get a bit squeamish about doing too many jokes about it because people do get offended.
Yeah. You mentioned the Allahan twins, and I'm right with you there. I mean, they were in, 43, 45 episodes each, Adi and Asha. They're really great actors. They really have got a talent there. There's both of them, I think, very charming, charismatic characters. That whole teen group there with them and Amy and even Summer, I suppose, to some extent. Like, even Summer, she wasn't in a whole lot last year, was she? But
they're really strong, and I think there's got a lot of potential.
At least Summer, at least Amy, has had years where they're in it quite a lot. But it still feels like we're waiting for Adi and Asha to really get their time in the spotlight, and I do not get why they don't.
But just to point out too, also, this does not take into consideration any kind of we mentioned it slightly with Hellenworth and Gail. I don't know what circumstances behind the scenes.
Yeah, no,
somebody could have a health problem. They could be studying. The actors are young. There could be all kinds of reasons. There could be a sick relative. They could be taking time out for mental health reasons. I'm not trying to say anything about any of these people specifically. I'm just saying that if there were no other extraneous elements involved, we would like to see them more, but we understand were there to be reasons why.
Well, yeah, I mean, last year, I think possibly the winner last year might have been Eileen, or if not, she was quite high up there, and then it turned out that there were behind-the-scenes reasons why Sue Cleaver couldn't appear on the show. I mean, Eileen, again, we could say that could be a potential do something, but,
I think some of these people are just also victims of the fact the cast is massive and there's just not enough time for everybody to be in it.
I'm surprised that we're not seeing more of Sally, because she only made 61 appearances, which is barely anything really compared to Shanique Sterling Brown playing Dee Dee was in 215 or so during the year.
I thought she was in 365 episodes.
No, not quite.
Oh.
I'd like Sally and Tim to have another story again, but there's going to be lots of Webster stuff happening this year. I mean, it's already looking like that way from what we've seen on the show. So maybe there'll be more Sally in that. No, I got no idea how much Sally's going to be involved in that, but I'd like her to be in it more because she's a proper Corrie icon. We've just lost Gail. It made me sad.
One of that photo of the longest serving characters, and I think a lot of people don't really think of Sally as being an older character because I think there's a bit of a torch passing process happening at the moment whereby loads of people who were in it from the beginning are just not around anymore.
Yeah. It made me sad to think that the kind of gradual decrease in appearances that we saw for Gail, we're also going to see for Sally. Because, Ken's still been in it a fair amount last year.
Ken was in it loads.
Roy, he was in it a fair... Yeah, he's in it.
They're both veterans.
So I would like to think that we could use Sally more. But so you're gonna go for Gail, are you? I'd be erring more towards Jenny, but I've had some of my no, but I've had you've rolled over for some of my. I've been able to convince you with some of the other ones, so I'd happily go with Gail if you want to go with Gail.
Let's put Jenny in because the thing is about Gail is that she's not there now. So it's like when we say do something. What
That's
we want
true.
is for them to do something. You can't do anything with
You can't
Belle
do it if you're not in the
she's
programme
in
anymore.
France dead.
Yeah, that is a very good reason. Yeah,
Do something with Jenny, please. For goodness sake, you've got such a talented actress. She's so popular.
And
People are gagging
do
for
something
more,
nice.
Jenny.
Do something nice.
She's fantastic.
Don't give her a horrible illness or something.
And also, let's turn this ship around on her being a bit of a ditzy moron.
Yeah,
and being like
sure.
with Daisy and being oblivious to like don't sell your stepdaughter's pistachio handbag.
Yeah, absolutely.
She knows not to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do the build up to Nout award.
Well, I just said that Jenny and Daisy's fallout with the Rovers was like. Okay. We were like when we went into 2025. We were like
24.
Yeah, when we went into 2025, we were. Oh no, you're right.
I thought I was.
You're right, Michael. Of course, you're always right. We were coming into it. We were like, well, there's no point predicting that much about this because it's going to be the biggest story.
Nope, nothing.
What story?
Nothing. Yeah, New Year's struck at the beginning of 2024. The Rovers opened, fake CGI fireworks over the top of it. It's like there's a new era for the Rovers. It went quiet for a bit during COVID.
I don't know what happened.
Now it's back.
I really don't know what happened because it was such a no-brainer. It was so obvious. It was such an easy win. It's a story about the most memorable set on Coronation Street, like the set, the place, the one that everyone knows, and it's characters everyone loves, and it's an intriguing premise, and you've got these big juggernaut characters with big fan bases coming in to go, up against each other in this big fight. Women, against women. This Coronation Street's been strong women having scraps with each other since the first episode.
Even The Secret, that was a bit of a build-up. It's like, oh my gosh, what's Carla going to do when she finds out that Jenny and Daisy have stolen that money from the factory? Well, taking it from Stephen, who took it from the factory. And yes, there were fireworks for a couple of episodes, but it felt like then Carla's like, well, I'm in charge of the Rovers now, you can pay me back. Not mentioned again until only just recently. There was no mention at all. Nothing about Carla taking a little interest in what's happening with the Rovers' finances. Nothing really about Jenny making comments or giving Carla the side eye, the stink eye.
It also doesn't make any sense because Jenny wouldn't take it lightly that she was under someone's thumb because the whole point, of her going independent and she was trying to do all the stuff with the brewery and get it bought and she's finally free and then she's under someone's, she's got a boss. She didn't really want that. Also, Carla's supposed to be a savvy businesswoman. You're telling me that she just sat back and was a silent partner when she would have waded in and gone, well, can I look at your books? How much are you paying for this? Can we not do this? I've got an idea. I'm going to do this, that and the other thing. You're telling me not even, I know, let's have the Christmas party at the Rovers so that I can get some of this bloody money back. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We were promised fireworks there and really we just got a bit of a damp sparkler.
We could have even had like a scene where Carla insists that they start stocking some bougie wine that she wants to drink that nobody else is interested in because she's like, well, if I own the place, I might as well drink some actual proper nice stuff instead of this crap that you keep buying in. Even something like that would have been interesting. Or like, I want some, wasabi peas back because I loved that when Toya was in charge. Nothing. No comments at all. If I owned a pub, I would be in there all the time.
Let's take a look at some other contenders. I think you got a very strong nomination there in the whole Rovers ownership debate. What else could we say? I'd like to throw in there Glenda's PTSD, which lasted all of 2 episodes a week maybe. So when she was attacked after the speed dating night in the Rovers, then she started having her funny flashbacks and it felt like we were going into a mental health story for Glenda here. But what we actually got is probably my contender for my most despised storyline of the year, Glenda versus George, which I just, every time I think about it, I just can't stand the fact that these two siblings that really got on well before, both are jolly, positive, cheery kind of characters, are at each other's throats over some inheritance that didn't really make sense because Archie died ages ago, Audrey got a load of the money. It was a nasty storyline for both of those, and it really dented Glenda as a character. But I mean, that's by the by for this. It's the fact that she was potentially going to be getting PTSD, but nah, she's fine.
You got to make up your mind about this.
What?
Because the Glenda and George's fallout didn't build up to nothing because there was a story there.
No, I'm saying that the signs that it looked like Glenda was going to have some massive mental health storyline.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
I'm not saying there should be more medical storylines or mental health storylines, so we certainly got a lot of those. But that was a bit of a build up to now.
But also, I'm glad it didn't go anywhere because when she started down that route, I was like, oh no. Not another one. Sorry, but another
Turning
one.
a strong, powerful, positive, cheery character into a husk of a woman.
But also PTSD again. Everyone's got that on this show.
I know. Everyone's having flashbacks left, right, and centre. What else was there? Can we give a shout out to Joel's body bag?
I think we need to because I think that was our fault.
It was, Corrie didn't build it up. We all built it up in our own minds that there was more to Joel's murder than we actually got.
I feel like we owe like a personal apology to the props department of Coronation Street because we ragged on them so bad about that. And also, like what I was saying about, the shiv, it was just a penknife. Oh, that was silly. It doesn't make any sense. Where did you get that from? And it's like, actually, when I look back, it wasn't. It was a shiv, and when you look back at the thing, it wasn't a body bag. Really, really looked.
I
like
am
one.
not apologising for this.
It
yes,
was a
we might
mistake.
have influenced some of our listeners into
We
thinking
weren't
that
the
they
only
were in a boat.
ones.
We're
not that influential.
No. Plenty of independent viewers
Yes.
came to their own decision after seeing that scene where the body floated down the river and thought, he's in a body bag. Yep, there was the rock that was, you pause it and it's 100% a rock, and at the time, in the fleeting instance that we saw it, we thought it was a head. But the thing is,
Even when
why
I knew
couldn't
it was a
somebody
head.
working on the show have looked at that and thought, that looks a bit like a body bag. Maybe we can do it from a different
But
angle,
even-
or reshoot it, or light it different. I don't know, or just cut that bit entirely. Because
Even when you look at it and you know that it's a rock, it is irrelevant to the point that people thought it was a body bag.
Yeah.
Because even when he's floating down the river, it looks like he's in a body bag, and that's why everyone thought the rock was his head. Because when you see him floating, he's got that shape. He's got the head shape, and I assume he was floating face down.
I don't know what the alternative would have been though, because we saw
So his
when
dead corpse.
Well, that's what we had
his
with Leo,
face.
wasn't it? When he had that green hand coming out of the mound of dirt when he was dug up the other year.
You
That
don't
was
have
just
to show it
ridiculous.
at all. You just why have the? This is my question. Why have the boys on the riverbank at all if you were going to show the body? Because you could have just had these lads go, oh my god, it's a dead body. You didn't even need it. You didn't even need the anything else because you know that they seen Joel's body.
I don't know if we can actually award it to this storyline when it was the fans that built it up to Nout, but Corrie is not blameless with this one.
Well, okay.
Somebody should have seen that and said, hang on a minute, we might, people might see that in a different way. What about Fizz's pregnancy?
I don't think so.
No, why? Because
pregnancy. Look, what do you mean build up to now?
it
There are
felt
loads
like
of
a quite.
pregnancies that unfortunately don't.
No, I know. Well, she had a termination in the end. Didn't
I think
she?
it was a really mature and important conversation about the fact that it's important to point out that actually the majority, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think most abortions are women already mothers. And I don't think people think about that, and I don't think that comes into the there's I don't think so much in this country, but obviously other countries have a bigger debate about pro-life and abortion and stuff. But I think that gets lost so much in the conversation that women who are educated and already have children, choose to end pregnancies for very sensible reasons.
I was very... Maybe, again, this is me building it up, because I really like the idea of Fizz and Tyrone having this child that was, both theirs. But I suppose it was only a few episodes, and it was like OMG, Fizz is pregnant.
I'm just trying to come from a point of view of protecting, women who might have had a similar experience, and it's not... I don't want to be dismissive of their decisions, I don't think that would count for me.
Okay,
I think it was a really important and mature story.
What about in the same story then? was the fact that we finally got to meet Tyrone's son this year.
What happened?
Was that a build up
Yeah,
to
it
that? Because
was.
we've been building it up, ever since Alina jetted off to Romania a few years ago, patted her belly. And we thought she's going to come back with a son.
We? And then she turned up for like a month.
Yeah. I was when she came back, in my head, I was like, oh, she's going to be in it now. She's going to be in the programme for
yes,
good.
Yeah, I know.
And even when she went off, because the story eventually ends, doesn't it? Because she goes off to Romania for a bit and leaves Dorin with the Stapes and the Dobbs, which we don't see a whole lot of. Then she comes back, and then then Tyrone has to get this, I can't remember what it was called, restricted steps order to prevent her from leaving. She finds out about this and is like, I'm never going to see you ever again. And I thought, she'll be back in a month. And she wasn't.
I know. And
I really hope that Alina comes back into it this year.
We saw of it was Tyrone trying to speak to Dorin on the laptop, and she's just like, no more conversation.
Well, she overhears, don't you remember, they almost closed the laptop, and then she heard something. I think it was about the Tyrone stealing the passport or whatever happened. I can't remember now.
Right.
But yeah,
and then she's like, right, no more.
That really had the potential to be a big story for number 9, and it didn't quite make it for me.
All this big talk that Tyrone said, and all these sacrifices he was willing to make, he nearly wrecked his marriage over Dorin because of how Fizz reacted. And he's like, no, it's more important to me. My child is more important to me than this. How can I turn my back on him? Let's go to Romania. We've got to visit him. Must be in his life. And then like a month later, you're like, how's Dorin? And he's like, who's Dorin?
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't spoken about him. Did he talk about him at Christmas? Has he mentioned him at all? Is there a photo of anywhere? Does he pine over him? Does he look at his kids and think, well, maybe, but we haven't seen any of it? How impassioned he was about it, and now they couldn't give it 2 craps about it.
Yeah.
Next time Tyrone tries to tell me that he's a good father, I will not believe him. He's not getting a Happy Father's Day card off me.
Any other mentions for you? Honourable mentions, or possibly serious contenders for this
one? I
one?
thought more would come of the fact that Abby and Kevin knew about this. Also, all the drugs, the drug that Paul needed to end his life, and the fact that Billy got it and Abby knew and Kevin knew, and there was that bit of fallout, and the fact that
Liam found it, didn't he?
The fact that it's in the house still.
Billy's probably subtly
having a little toot every now and then. Just to have a little
one or the other.
It's a Saturday night, why not?
The fact that Abby and Kevin knew about it as well, that nothing ever came of that. I don't think it's
not a big deal.
No, I would say again another not really a big deal, but what's going on there then? Do you remember when Amy was a radio host?
She got booted off because Paul said
the F word on air, didn't he?
Yeah.
Has he still got that? I
think she got fired.
I think Amy's whole story, apart from her involvement with the Institute this year, has been a bit of a what's she doing? I can't. Does anyone really remember what she's studying? Because I certainly don't. I'd like to give a shout out to Gab and Sabrina being a build up to now, because they've just disappeared, haven't they? There wasn't a huge build up for the character, but they were popular with the fans, so that's another case of we built them up as these are really interesting new characters. I can't wait to see what adventures they get up to, and then it turned out to be nothing.
Yeah.
Gav saw Tracy and Tommy at it at the top of a ladder. Sabrina
it just
visited
good,
Frankie.
I mean,
that's a weird build up to now.
There are a few Asian families on the street who aren't related to each other, but it feels like Coronation Street's like, no, Bailey's, we can't have any more black characters. We have to.
It's odd. It's bizarre.
I really think it was a massive mistake to not keep them. I don't know whether the actors, because I know that the actress who plays Sabrina is studying, at some kind of theatre school.
Yeah.
And so I know she's might come back. Maybe she wanted to leave herself. I've got no idea why. But I would be surprised if they got offered a permanent job on Corrie and went no.
Can I just throw out one more in Bethany's stoma?
What stoma?
I don't know whether that storyline had to be
in it.
No, I know. I mean, I don't know whether it had to be brought to a bit of a screeching halt when Lucy Fallon announced her pregnancy, and maybe there would have been more there. It felt, I was quite enjoying it at the time, and then she kind of got back home. She had a bit of a wobble when Daniel saw it, and then it's almost like, oh yeah, she's got a stoma, hasn't she?
I'm really is this me being inappropriate, or would anyone else have actually been interested in a bit more of the real questions that you have about somebody who has a stoma, like, how does it work? What do you have to do? Do you have to lie on your back?
It was very light touch.
Why are we being po-faced about it and not actually getting into what you like? If I was her mum, I'd be asking her a lot of questions. We never saw Sarah and Bethany having a heart-to-heart about it. We had a tiny little bit about the intimacy between Daniel and Bethany and her feeling like she felt, insecure, and there's so much more to explore with that, and we went nowhere with it. And also the other thing about it, she's this great amazing journalist. She never wrote anything about having a stoma. That would have been my big pitch if I had been her. She already wrote about her real life experiences in a grooming gang.
Yeah.
Now this also is a big thing because it's to do with cosmetic surgery. She could have been an advocate about cosmetic surgeries and made a bloody killing. She could have gone, like, in real life, this girl would have easily been able to get herself on a radio station or talking on TV on like a chat show on one of these morning TV shows, talking about, yes, I'm the girl who this. Do you remember that massive case that was on the news? I went through that, but not only that, also, I want to tell girls about the dangers of blah, blah, blah. And you can read all about it in Ascend Trend next month because it's really trendy to have your guts out in Turkey.
Do you think that Lauren's, the whole who killed Lauren's story is a bit of a build-up to now? Because the answer is nobody killed her. And
nobody killed her, you idiot. That's what Coronation Street says. Not
enough people really seem to get angry about the fact that she was alive, inadvertently responsible for Roy's imprisonment. I know it got mentioned in the trial by the prosecution the other day.
I do feel like she has not adequately. Again, the same with her white supremacy stuff. She's not atoned for any of it.
I don't know. I don't know whether that can count as a build-up to now, especially in the face of the Rovers story as competition. I really do feel that the grand reopening of the Rovers, the whole money...
Yeah, the money thing.
Stealing the money was... We were saying a year ago, how on earth are they going to get away with this? And the answer was just to not really mention it.
And it's happened again, right? Number one, also, how did they earn any money? Because that was the whole point of that they needed to steal it in the first place. And number two, the last time the story's still, it's like a little dangling poo on the back of a dog's bum that you can't quite wipe off. And they keep dragging it across the carpet, right? Because we just had a scene where Carla summoned Daisy and Jenny to tell them that she needed them to give her money for her kidney because they were 250 grand. And what happened? The same episode, Betsy comes over and goes, "I'll just have 40 grand off me, it's fine." What? So are they still paying her back?
I don't know.
We don't know.
It feels like we should know.
It does feel like it's a bit more important than just, who cares about that?
Yeah, Corrie's got to be really careful about
things.
Corrie's got to be really careful about making characters do criminal things just for the shock factor and then come up with some cheap way of saying, but it doesn't matter. Even like, Jack setting fire accidentally to Stefan's office last year. It's like, oh my gosh, Jack's an arsonist. It's all right. He's just got to do a bit of community service. We would never see him anyway, so we won't get to see him. This or whatever it is that he. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You got to follow through on your big reveals.
I think sometimes I do think, and this is not their intention, but I do feel like Corrie kind of takes me for an idiot when I get invested in something, and I think that something big is going to come out of it. And I think that Corrie, it feels, they're not saying this, but it feels as though they're like, well, it's just a TV show. Why are you getting so... Why are you taking it so seriously? Well, no, I do take it seriously, and you need us to take it seriously, and you need us to be invested in the consequences of these things, because as soon as we don't buy into this world that you've created, the sooner we're going to stop watching it.
Yeah. Well, I think, are we giving it to the Rovers story?
Yeah.
I think we will. Let's move on to the next award.
So now it's on to the Weatherfield Waterworks Award.
Yeah, the Cryer Award.
For people that just won't stop crying.
What's the difference between this and the Mardiest Mare Award? Mardiest Mare is angry.
I mean, there's...
And Weatherfield Waterworks is just crying. Can't stop crying, can't stop weeping.
Yeah.
It feels a bit bad having this award, but never mind.
Well, no, it's because it's whenever there's a good actor on Corrie, they're like, oh, I know what we could do with you, or just make you cry.
Make you cry.
And they do it mostly to women.
Yeah.
We have got a man on this list.
We have got a man nominated. This might be our first male nominee for this, actually. Yeah. Okay, so anyone... We can't not talk about Lauren as a potential contender for this, can we?
I don't see how she's not the winner.
She has been doing a lot of crying. I don't know whether we just share it out. I feel a bit bad, but she has had a lot to cry about. But then, it's kind of case for her that if she's not scowling, she's crying. Because some dreadful thing has happened to her. And I don't blame her for crying. I think we'd all shed a few tears if we were put into the same circumstance as her, but...
Well, this isn't an award for people that cry for no reason.
No. Who else have we... We said about the man earlier. I wondered whether Billy might be possibly up for consideration
he is on the list,
here.
yes.
Yeah, no,
We made it sound like there's another man apart from Billy. Billy is the man.
Yeah, no, his partner was dying in a really tragic, terrible way.
Yeah,
of course
he cried a lot.
Of course, he's gonna squeeze a few drops out of his eyes. But
a lot of people, found it. I didn't agree with it. I found him very sympathetic, and I could totally see where he's coming from almost all the time. But a lot of people got fed up with it.
Yeah.
Even this is like the cruelty of this award, because all the people on the list are crying because Coronation Street has heaped like unbearable tragedy upon their heads.
I'm thinking for Billy, peak crying moment this year, maybe the actual moment that Paul was dying and Billy was there just crying his heart out, giving his message, trying to run. He was a little bit exhausted after running from Freshco's to the hospital. He had other moments, but equally there was a lot of positivity there from him as well, which I don't know whether we could say that about Lauren. Toya, maybe?
Toya had a lot of sadness this year. We've already said, haven't we?
It was mostly related to the Rose story.
Yeah, talking about her horrible trauma and memories of that, and then the cancer and her sister breaking up with her.
It doesn't necessarily stand out.
Her and Nick.
Over other emotions
Any
throughout
other
the year.
I think that she might have been a good candidate, really. But Lauren is so much...
Maria, Liam was going through quite an ordeal earlier this year or last year with the bullying story, and she got a little bit overprotective, some might say, and not wanting to leave his sight, and
very sad.
Very sad. Good
very
reasons
emotive.
to cry, but.
And then also I think Gemma, because she was sad because Billy again. Billy's caused not Billy. Paul's caused a lot of trauma.
Yeah. Also sad because she's poor.
And then she's poor again now. There was a brief moment where she wasn't poor. For about how long did that last?
Couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks, and now it's all gone.
She's poor again. Yeah. Chesney's fault. Should we just say it's Lauren and move on?
Just give it to Lauren.
Just give it to Lauren and move on. I mean, it's part of a good award. What do you call somebody who receives an award? Recipient. To have a good cry. If you're there at the Oscars, you're called up to the podium, stand up there and cry your little heart out. So,
well, yeah, mostly better. If you're a lady.
Yeah, well, she is. She is a lady as
well. Very men that are emotionally mature and understand their feelings, perhaps would also cry. Yeah.
Okay, look, let's move on. Should we do the what's next?
No One Can Ever Know.
Oh yeah, the No One Can Ever Know award. You love a good secret on a soap. It seems like so often people are keeping secrets for no particularly good reason. And
is this what this is for like stupid secrets?
I think it's like a silly secret. Like, come on, or
like this is going to come out immediately.
But that's often the case, that every single secret on a soap is going to come out at some point, and the Weatherfield residents over the years still haven't clocked on to the fact that every single secret gets uncovered, between 1 and 6 months down the line. There's a few that are still being kept, like, not everybody knows the secret about what happened with Callum.
I don't think that counts. I think as soon as more than the people originally involved in it know, then it's not secret.
Okay.
But do you think that maybe Toya wins the award for the longest kept secret?
Oh, that's a really good point. But she was keeping it with herself, wasn't she?
Well, 2 can keep a secret if one of them is dead.
I don't know whether I like that as a No One Can Ever Know. Because
I'm not giving it. I'm not saying. Well, you've put it on the list. Toya's secret baby.
I did put that as a secret, didn't I?
It's the longest running secret.
I mean, what about Bernie and Kit? He was a secret for quite a long time, wasn't he?
Yes.
He's older than Rose would be at this point, and she's known all this time that she's got a son, and she hasn't said nothing about it.
That biscuit tin, man. What a mistake to have that left out.
That is quite a big secret, and she was keeping that secret with other people like Denny, wasn't she?
Well, she
and
kept that
Kit
secret
himself.
from her family, so their whole lives they were lied to, weren't they?
Yeah, and they were understandably quite narked when the truth came out. So I think, that in terms of scope and, longevity that key secret was kept, that maybe it is.
Maybe that is more. It's weird that there are two secrets in the same year that
are about
span
mysterious
decades.
child. Yeah. Okay. What about we got things like Lauren's secret boyfriend? Beginning of the year, she was secretly seeing Joel.
No, but why was that? Why is that a silly secret?
No, maybe it's not a silly secret. You're right. Maybe it's just a.
I think the fact that Toya and Nick were having an affair, and then they tried to cover it up, and they couldn't work out when was the best time to tell Leanne, and they just decided to let her find out by uncovering it.
Well, it wasn't just the fact that they were having that secret affair. It's that Leanne then found out about it. They promised that they were, over. But then they resumed because they just, so consumed with lust that they couldn't keep their hands off each other. And then they said, well, let's try and keep it a secret from Leanne again. And obviously she found out. I mean, fool me once, shame on me. But come on.
Fool me twice, can't be fooled again.
Yeah, don't be surprised if Leanne starts causing chaos to you.
Do you remember the good old Bush days? I do.
The good old Bush days?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I miss him
Love
now.
that quote. That was quite a big one. We got things like the secret of what happened on the viaduct when Joel was murdered. Max and Lauren. One might... Should they have told somebody? Should they have said, you know what, fair cop, I did whack him round the head a couple of times, but he was coming after us after all?
I think one of the big mistakes they made was, not telling anybody, and disposing of the body.
Yeah,
they would have sold.
Not in a body bag, though.
They would have given us all less of a headache if they just come clean.
Mm. Oh, I know a good one. What about the secret? Because we just mentioned this one. What about the secret that when Billy was saying his last message to Paul on his deathbed?
Oh yeah, that was a silly secret.
That was a silly secret.
Yeah.
No, was it? No. Or was that a kind secret?
No, it was. I think.
Well, you didn't want kept for long.
Right, it's not their place, first of all, I don't think, to have kept it from him. But also, they could have spun it. Although Billy probably wouldn't have accepted it. They could have said, I'm sure he heard you.
Yeah.
I'm sure he heard you. Even though he was gone. Because Billy, Billy spoke to Paul after he died a few weeks later when he appeared to him as a vision. So, whatever. I thought that was unnecessary drama. It just felt like it's one of those. Very much felt like one of those secrets. Was like the fact that you're keeping this a secret is going to be part of the drama, and I think that's what this no one can ever know category is for. It's like you are adding to the drama by just keeping this a secret, and it feels quite unnecessary.
That definitely did do that. Yeah, I also think that there's things like Gary when he paid Nathan off to try to do one, and that came to bite him in the bum, especially because Maria found out that he was doing it to help Sarah Louise.
Right.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it stands against some of the...
Was that all to do with the, I secretly recorded you?
I think it was all... That story is kind of disappearing out of mind a little bit. We had... what about the secret that Ed... I mean, maybe this is a secret to himself. He was the one that was responsible, ultimately, for the fire in the yard. Because he said, I didn't set the fire, but I saw that it started burning and I just didn't do anything. I decided to let it smoulder. But then he did tell someone after that. So maybe...
I think...
Oh, I know one. What about, going back to this thing that was my bugbear earlier, when Bobby lied to the police and then he got Carla involved and she had to keep the secret that he'd been lying to the police. That was just ridiculous, wasn't it? About who he saw at Lauren's flat. There's a few quite good contenders, really. I don't know. There aren't many here. I don't know if there's any here that are standing out straight away as, yes, it's that one. Are you leaning towards any?
I do think that the I do think that it's got to be a secret baby or a secret kit.
But there's no reason to think that, especially for Toya, that secret would come out. That kind of makes sense that she kept that a secret.
I think a lot of these are actually quite low stakes.
Yeah.
I mean, the trouble with it is that a lot of this category is full of like, oh, that's gonna just come out. That's just gonna come out, and then when it does come out, it's like, oh well, you made it worse. I don't know. I don't have a.
I may be leaning more towards. Or what about when Beth and Izzy and Betsy were doing their secret labelling in the factory, thinking that they could sneak into the factory every night under cover of darkness and have this dodgy side business.
But why would they ever tell anybody about that?
No, but I'm kind of saying that's one of these secrets that surely you're going to get caught at some time.
Yeah, I think this is a difficult category this year.
I think it really is. I don't think there's any, I can't believe you are keeping this secret, you idiot. You need to tell somebody about it. Maybe that, and that doesn't count for them. I mean, I don't think that counts for the Bernie having a secret son. She didn't need to say anything about it. As far as she was concerned, he was out of her life and didn't have anything to do with it. I'm kind of thinking that this Bobby and Carla massive lie to the police and Carla colluding in that really should have. I would say to her, no, you just need to
be the grown up here.
Need to be the grown up and dob that Bobby in.
Yeah, dob Bobby in. Yeah, let's give it to Bobby because we don't like him.
Are we going to do that? Are we saying that Bobby and Carla keeping the secret that he was just lying to the police about what happened in Lauren's flat? That was the stupidest secret. Okay, fair enough.
I want to put forward a petition for consideration in future awards to rename the Do One New One category to be called the green fruit pastel category.
Maybe only if it was a part of a new campaign by Roundtrees to put a new flavour in that nobody liked.
Why don't they sponsor us?
Could do, couldn't they? Okay, what's next? We have got the You Daft Apeth Award, and this is where we say we celebrate somebody who has just done monumentally ridiculous things, and it's like, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you thought you'd get away with that. Did you not engage your brain slightly before you said that, did that, or whatever? And this list could go on forever. That's one of the things that makes a good soap: characters making stupid decisions. And if everybody just acted in a completely rational and reflective way, then probably that half of the drama that we enjoy so much wouldn't happen. But we can still call them out on being a bit of a plonker, can't we?
Well, it's a celebration of like some of the necessary stupidity that has to happen to make a soap work.
Yeah. I would like to put for consideration here David gaslighting Shona.
Yeah.
As quite high up there. What a
stupid thing to do.
Firstly, hiding the evidence that the prison had contacted her, because surely he would have known that would have kept on going. You can't keep that a secret. I mean, that's similar to no one will ever know, except he was keeping it with himself. But then when he kind of just carried on when Shona was suspecting and she found this email for him to gaslight her and say, well, it's your brain injury, isn't it? He should have, there were multiple occasions during that he could have said, you know what, I'll fess up. I've done something a bit stupid here, love. But he didn't. He just kept on going, and then he almost deserved everything that happened to him. I mean, your mileage may vary when it comes to did Shona... Should she have then gone off and slept with Kit in a fit of rage? I don't know.
Shouldn't. Go out on a limb.
What about? Oh, I just thought of something else for the nobody must ever know. All that whole collusion with Daniel stealing the car and then crashing it. That was quite a big secret, wasn't it? And Daisy
going, and what's happened there?
Well, they just all got away with it in the end, didn't they?
Yeah.
But we'll leave it. Okay. Who else has been a Daft Apeth for you this year, John?
I reckon this whole thing with Chesney and the van driver is probably the worst thing.
You reckon?
Because it made no sense.
What, to explain?
Well, the whole debacle was stupid. So first of all, he gets riled up because Chesney's driving in the car park and this guy he thinks steals his car parking space. So instead of like just dealing with it like most people would, he decides to park his car the other side of the van so that he can't get out, right? Also inconveniencing the two other people that are parked either side.
Yeah.
and somehow he gets away with it. Even the security guards, nobody comes and like tows him or puts a what's it called?
A clamp on
it. You'd think that would happen, but no. Instead, the van driver just drives out, but clips him. Is that what happens? Then Chesney recognises the van again and vandalises it.
Yeah, putting the sugar in. I mean, he's paying for that now, and he's £6,000.
And now he's had to pay £6,000 in restitution to this guy, and the whole thing was just because he's a twit.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good contender. I think there might be some bigger ones. I would say.
I think that was the really dumb because it's out of character as well.
Bethany going to Turkey and despite not having the insurance for this, taking the risk and getting that plastic surgery done. Of course, it's not her fault.
I don't think
what went wrong there, but I think that she made a massively risky move by even going under the knife.
No, I don't know. I don't think that's fair. That's like saying anyone who has plastic surgery is a daft apeth.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you go there abroad and you're not insured for it, then well, maybe you're taking too big a risk here, and she's certainly paying for it now.
But I think that I just can't help but see her as a victim of, you know, of an really unexpected, like when you park your car. When you kind of get into an altercation with somebody and you park your car behind them, what do you think is the best possible outcome of this? At least when she had this surgery, she was trusting experts and people that, you know, are supposed to be professionals, and it was a freak occurrence that happened. It wasn't, she didn't do anything wrong to, like, it's not like she made the wrong decision. There was no indication at all that this was some kind of dodgy fly-by-night, you know, when I woke up the next day, it wasn't a hospital, it was a sandcastle kind of thing. She went to an actual hospital. She scoped it out first. She spent a lot of time there, you know, talking to people. She would have seen that as professional. I mean, it looked bloody nicer than most hospitals over here, didn't it? When we saw her in the building, even though it was a building over here, but hey. No, I can't blame her. I just think
you've argued your case well there.
I think it's unfair to say that.
Okay. What about when Craig confessed to Kit that he covered up about the circumstances around Ted's death? You know, with the biscuit. Like
he was boasting about it almost.
I mean, he again, bit of a victim here. I think Kit clearly was trying to, you know, finagle a little bit of confession out of him, but he fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. You know, he shouldn't have done it straight away.
That he shouldn't have trusted.
But should he have trusted him though? I mean, we know that Kit's a bit of a wrong, and Craig doesn't. Craig's just a innocent soul, isn't he? But if you're a police officer and you've done something a little bit bent, I don't think that telling your superior officer about that is going to be a good idea, whether or not he's a dodgy character.
Well, it builds camaraderie on the force.
The thing is, Kit still knows this, and he's, you know, he used the information to get rid of Beth. He could drop this bomb at any point, couldn't he? Yeah. So Craig, and I know he's probably forgotten about it by this point, but I think that was a bit of a dodgy, daft Apeth-y move. What about... Just because I want to give it a shout out because I love the scene so much. Remember that time that Chesney, it's you again, you daft Apeth. Remember that time that he left Kirk in charge of the kebab shop for an afternoon?
And that went completely, and that's kind of ruined his life a little bit actually, hasn't it? Because that's why he's got this 0 hours contracted extra job. Yeah. Although I don't understand why, because
I mean the thing
he's
is
back now working there because I think Dev gave him his job back.
The health inspector would have come anyway, wouldn't he? Whether or not Kirk had been in charge there, so the cockroaches would have been found anyway. So it's not necessarily Kirk's fault. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, that the prima donna was closed down for all that time. But putting Kirk in charge of literally anything, bad move.
No, he can't even be in charge of himself. I don't think he should be allowed to choose what he has for dinner.
But the people behind the scenes at Coronation Street who came up with the good idea of putting Kirk in charge of a kebab shop because the scene was so hilarious. Absolutely brilliant.
Well done.
What else have we got?
What about...
go on. No. Yeah, I've said a few.
I don't know what it is now because you've distracted me.
I think it would be remiss of us not to mention Leanne and Amy in this and the fact that they were taken in by a cult. I think that for many people, that would be quite a strong contender.
Do you know who I'm going to blame the most for this?
Who?
I'm going to blame that accountant that Amy went to go to talk to, who told her it was a perfectly reasonable investment to put her money into this resource centre. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't think you can blame Amy, because she did do her due diligence there, and she did look up and see whether this was a good idea, and she followed Leanne's guidance, who's an older woman who has also been a business owner. I don't think Amy knows the true extent of Leanne's business ownership, because most of it was just doing crimes to cover up the fact that she didn't have any money. But I can't blame Amy for it. But
she's young, she's naive-ish, but I mean, she's not totally, is she? That's the thing. She is a bit... I say that Amy's a bit of a canny lass. She maybe should have seen the signs, but then
Blanche would have.
Blanche would have set her straight on that. But then I could say the same about Leanne as well, and I'm always quite a staunch defender of no. Leanne is, she was taken in. She had mental health issues still following. She was grieving after Ollie's death. But there is just a bit in the back of my mind that was like, Come on, Leanne. Malware, uploading, reality coding. Literally, your sister, your boyfriend are telling you what a load of baloney it is. She did see that. I know. But all of this, I'm disconnecting with love when Toya was going through her surgery. It's...
Yeah, that was funny.
Going along with this whole AI Ollie deal.
Oh, no.
It's...
We don't know, because you would never know how you're going to feel about something like that.
But I think,
And I don't think it's going to be a very weird thing in the future. I think it might end up being kind of normal, which scares me.
That is very scary. If you are going to go down the alley of, sorry, Leanne, you should have, thought what's going on here then. Look at the repercussions that's had. Amy's lost that 10 grand. You've lost your boyfriend. He's shacked up with a girlfriend. You're now, you're reduced to spending another night with Steve McDonald. Like, how Zan has fallen, all because she was taken in by this charmer Rowan. It's been huge. It's been absolutely huge for her.
Can I counterpoint with a different one?
Yeah.
I think that Bethany is a daft apeth for dating Daniel. I don't know what any of them are thinking to think that Daniel. Why does she go back to him? I can't understand what she's thinking. She knows she doesn't want to have a kid, but so she goes with a guy who's got a kid. Then she gets jealous of a girl of another woman who cares for the kid more than she does. Then she cuts herself farting about with a cake. She just made a fool of herself all throughout her entire relationship with Daniel this year.
Yeah. I would also like to add on to this, Bethany writing that article about Daisy and catfishing Ryan. Retract the names all you like, but, writing that about your neighbours, it's going to come out, isn't it?
It's interesting because this is a storyline based category, but it would be kind of fun to do it as like, who's the stupidest character of the year, who's made the most number of foolish decisions that have really ruined their own life. And I think that quite a lot of the people in Corrie have really been doing this.
Yeah
I think Bethany is pretty high on the list. She's made lots of really sad mistakes.
Yeah, she has been a daft apeth.
What about Dee Dee going after Joel with a crowbar? She should know better than that. She's a lawyer. She could have thrown away her entire career.
Yeah.
Even just having a crowbar on herself, on her person, with no, like, what did she think was good? What's the best case scenario of leaving the house with a crowbar to go after your ex to beat him to death? She absolutely should have known that. The best thing that could happen is you don't find him. And so how do you... You could have just stayed at home then. The best thing that could happen is you stay at home and watch, I don't know, The Traitors. Yeah. I just thought of another one for Bethany as well. That time when she confessed to having cancer in the stoma support group. She just went along with it. Went along with what everyone else was saying. And for all we know, she still goes to that. Yeah, maybe. Well, she's all right now, isn't she? She's learned to live with the stoma and she's fine now. How about, this is just a very small minor bit, but just a funny thing to recall. How about Debbie's a bit of a daft apeth for seeing Lisa and Carla and being like, "Oh, you're such good mates. It's nice that you're spending so much time together on our couples package."
Yeah, that's funny. How about I'm gonna kids make mistakes all the time, but come on, Hope, don't vape, and don't put your dodgy cheapo ones inside the bureau in the lounge. It's just asking to set on fire. Thank goodness Evelyn was there with the fire blanket.
But you don't understand, it's cool.
No, she should have known. And this isn't the first time she's done it this year as well. I'm also going to say, actually, while I'm with the kids, Dylan, don't look after a knife just because your mate tells you to. This isn't, I think for 2025's Daft Apeth Award, bringing a knife to the knife fight.
No.
Bringing a knife to the punch up. Sorry. Oh my gosh, what was that? Bringing a knife to the punch up. Bad move. But that was this year. But last year,
that was the same knife, wasn't it?
No, it was a different one.
Oh, okay.
It was
a
different one because Dylan got the knife in the post, didn't he? I mean, he got that last year. Bit of a Daft Apeth after everything that happened last year, ordering a knife. But I think that looking after the knife for Mason. Don't want to be victim blaming again here, but he's a bad guy. Probably, it's tough to say no to when you're being intimidated.
What about Sarah trying to frame Nathan?
That was pretty daft. And we
she
blame
got caught
Bethany, but she's like mother, like daughter.
And she got caught immediately, and then she's indebted to Kit.
Yeah.
And that really got confusing, and I still don't really recall what the deal with that is.
I don't. Yeah.
I think maybe because she should really know better, and really she is an idiot.
Yeah.
I think Sarah's the biggest idiot.
Yeah, no.
And I think it's worse because she masquerades as an intelligent person, but she's not at all.
Can I put a little shout out for Tyrone trying to steal DNA from his son while the mum was just in the bathroom there? That was quite a Daft Apathy moment, but I don't know whether it stands up against any of these others. There's some really strong. Oh, what about Roy when he was under suspicion of Lauren's murder? All the things that he did just to try, which ended up making himself look even more guilty as well.
What did he do? I've forgotten.
I think it was just when he was saying, "Oh, she's a beautiful, innocent soul," and it just made him look a bit more predatory. Yeah. And also, when he after the murder happened, going into the Lawrence flat and scrubbing away the evidence of the crime. Come on, Roy.
Okay, how about Carla just dooring someone?
Yeah, that was a bit of a Daft Apeth thing to do. Yeah,
just like, should I just?
In the moment decision.
And another one which is kind of an off-screen thing, but whoever's in charge of the precinct not installing CCTV, because there's been so many
that
crimes.
Is the crime capital of Weatherfield.
Think about all the things that have happened there because there's no CCTV. There was a knife fight. There was a guy putting a dead body in a boot or trying to. There was that. There was leaving the child. The child unattended for there's Mason just dying in the playground. Maybe the person who the landlord of this precinct is like, you know what, it's not in my best interest. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
I got
another one. Ed, going back to that fire at the yard, just for having an electric heater, leaving it on while he went. He would go and get chips or something. Turn your heater off. This is a cautionary tale for any other builder's yard owners out there.
I know that lots of people don't like AI and Alexa, and I think she's listening to you, and she's listening to you right now. But we have got an electric fire and electric blanket, and they both are controlled by Alexa. So if you forget, you can turn it off when you're not at home.
Exactly. Come on, Ed, wise up to it.
Can you imagine Ed sitting in the builder's yard having chats with Alexa?
now we ain't get Aggie to.
Aggie's gone. So yeah.
Okay.
Who are we gonna pick?
I'm kind of going out of all of those. Bethany's definitely a strong contender as a Daft Apeth for her various misdemeanors. I do think that Leanne and Amy being taken in by the cult should be up there just to. Lots of people are going to be calling for them to get the award who aren't so sympathetic and understanding as I.
What about Daisy sleeping with Daniel and Kit?
No. I don't think that stands up.
She's a passionate woman.
I don't think that stands up to the others.
You can't help it when you're so beautiful.
And like I said, Craig confessing to Kit is quite a big one.
Cult or Bethany? I'm say Bethany. Sorry.
Okay, I'm happy that. I mean, Leanne. The outcome of Leanne's not
But
just
listen,
thinking has been huge for her. But Bethany has done many things over the year.
But can I just say, the cult storyline, maybe if you're listening, you thought, oh, that was a stupid storyline. But it's not the stupidest storyline. It's who's acted stupidly. And I really do feel sympathetic towards both Amy and Leanne in this story.
I do.
Because they were preyed upon by criminals who used their vulnerability against them. And they, to all the evidence, to their best possible abilities, they thought that they were doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And they were misled by other people and tricked and manipulated. And I don't think that makes you stupid, actually. I think that just you're just a victim, whereas Bethany is stupid.
You're daft Apeth, Bethany. But she's been headhunted by a
It's
top
not her
London
fault.
magazine, so she can't be that dumb.
I mean, look at her mum.
Okay, Character Assassination Award is next. So the idea of this is that a character has just been completely dragged through the mud and maybe had big personality change, isn't quite such the resolute beacon of positivity and excellence that they once were. So who's just been ruined this year and has come out of 2024 a lot worse than they went in?
Well, lots of people hate Leanne at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm loving her. I find her fascinating and hilarious.
I can't, in all good faith, say that she has been assassinated because
I think
she's going up in my estimation really over the last 12 months.
It's a character assassination. I think it's more like she's being excavated. It's like the years have like covered her in this like layer of like dirt as like a fake kind of like, she's an upstanding citizen, put all this, and then they're kind of uncovering her like Indiana Jones, like dig, chink away, brush, and then underneath we reveal the Leanne that's always been there the whole time, just this psychopathic, like Mardy, chavvy,
vengeful,
proper like psychopath,
Hellraiser,
yeah,
agent of
proper
chaos.
Battersby is the word we're looking
What about
for.
Toya? Has she been assassinated this year? I think that retcon really has done a number on her, and I we're big Toya fans here, but there are lots of Corrie watchers that just can't stand her holier than thou attitude and think that...
Over the years she's become quite dull. Like I watched somebody put online on Twitter a fight that was either Leanne and Toya versus Michelle and Carla in
I remember it.
Do you remember that in the pub?
Yeah.
And Toya is just being an absolute raging bitch towards Michelle, and Michelle like throws 2 pints of beer on her head. And I was like, I miss that Toya. She was just as much as a sharp-tongued cow as Leanne is at the moment.
We did see elements of that from Toya when she was trying to take Rowan down, because she loves her sister and she stood up against him, and I appreciated that little bit of spark and spunk that we got from Toya there.
And also, do you really like? I'm willing to go with it, but I would definitely agree with anyone who said, I don't think it's realistic or within character that Toya would betray her sister the way she has done, going out with Nick behind her back. And but the question is,
especially when she's saying, sisterhood is most important thing here.
The question I have is, was there ever going to be a way that Toya could have ended up with Nick without just hurting Leanne?
No.
Was it? But
unless there was an amicable breakup between Nick and Leanne, and then plenty of time had passed.
Wasn't there a bit of an amicable breakup?
Not really. She just ended up spending more and more time with the Institute, didn't she? She drove
really
Nick away.
She really needed her family, but they couldn't be there for her because of the cancer stuff. Which is kind of funny because that's what's happening at the moment with Abby and Kevin. He's there dealing with a cancer diagnosis, and she is battling
potential
battling her own.
Yeah, I don't think that they have changed enough to say it's a character assassination. Although I think that they've got more reasons to have haters now than they did a year ago. Possibly.
I feel bad for Leanne. Yeah. I don't think she deserves all this hate. I think that people, I don't know, people maybe people don't take it as seriously as they pretend they do online. But if you didn't have people like Leanne causing chaos, then it would be a very boring show.
Exactly. I'd like to put a shout out there, and I think that this has been able to be curtailed. Glenda was well on the way to a character assassination this year. just by giving her that ridiculous story where she declared, you know, she was
Bankruptcy.
she's suing
Nearly.
suing George, her dear brother. Even like, you know,
Even
the
George
whole
got
of that
it as well.
family,
Yeah.
a bit of a character assassination.
Actually, in death, poor
Archie.
Archie being, you know, I'm just going to not bother giving my ne'er-do-well daughter the keys to the family business because she's...
But he did. That was the thing, wasn't it? The will was found that said that
But he never bothered doing anything about it.
Yeah,
It's like in Succession. Was it an underline or a cross out?
I don't
We'll
know
never
what
know.
you're talking about.
We'll never know.
It was... Glenda was always this fun, loving, just laid back and...
Yeah, I agree with you.
Sparky character. And over that storyline, the couple of months in the summer, she just... I don't know.
Turned into a childish,
yeah,
objectionable cow.
Yeah, and like when George ended up giving her some of the share of the money to try and say, look, fair cop, do you want to have this? She then turns around and says, I'm going to use that to sue you.
Yeah, I know.
That is not the actions of a character that's just supposed to be a fun side character that's, you know... Glenda's great, and I think that storyline luckily was brought to an end, and I think that Glenda has come out of it unscathed.
But we've barely seen her.
We haven't, but when we do, she is still the Glenda that, you know, the buxom hostess that we all grew to love.
We want the Glenda that did the dating game episode.
And I think that's where Glenda is left, but there was a real risk that she could have been ruined, and she was certainly assassinated over the summer. She just survived that assassination.
It's like the pitch for the story was like, right, so everyone loves Glenda, don't they? Yeah. Why? Because she's loving, gregarious, funny, upbeat, optimistic, happy-go-lucky, charming. What if we took all of those attributes and turned them upside down and made her vengeful, jealous, petty, nasty,
It was a really weird decision. Really, really weird. Yeah. What about Cassie?
I don't know that this is... I think you've got a bit of rose-tinted glasses here, mate.
Cassie, yeah, she came in as a bit of a wrong un.
I also think you don't know that many people like this in real life, and I'm glad for you. But Cassie is a certain sort of person who's had to graft and scrabble and fight against people, and she sees everyone as her enemies her whole life.
I kind of got the impression that, you know, early 2024 we were getting a Cassie who was not feeling so vulnerable and defensive, that she had to fight back, and she was being rehabilitated a little bit. But then, you know, scroll forward another 6, 7, 8 months, and there she is poisoning Ken, and I still love her. I can't help it.
I know, I do as well, but
she's literally poisoning the godfather of Coronation Street.
I don't want to get
that's a bit naughty.
I don't want to get too heavy in, like, you know, you can't diagnose fictional characters, but there's an element of mental illness going on here, even if it is just a fictional sort. Like this, you know, this whole... We haven't actually had it come out that it's some kind of, like, Munchausen's or factitious disorder whereby you make someone sick to get attention.
Yeah, she's just doing it to try and keep a job, isn't it?
Well, it's difficult to know whether she's doing it for the attention or whether she's just doing it for the convenience.
I think...
But it definitely... I mean, and that is that not a mental... I think it's a mental illness,
I'd like to say that she's kind of got herself trapped in it now, and she just has to carry it on, but she knows what she's doing is wrong.
No, she's gone...
But then you get a scene where she's, you know, she's trying to scam money out of him. She's pinching his credit card.
But this is a different year now.
There is a different year now.
That.
But yeah, maybe she was never so high and mighty that what she's done is a character assassination. But it's a shame to me, because I thought that she was just going to turn into, you know, a bit of a power woman.
I think Evelyn was kind of right about her.
When?
Well, just, you know, saying that... Remember that time when one of the first things we ever saw between the two of them, and Evelyn was saying, you know, I've tried my hardest my whole life, and I'm just going to have to wash my hands of you.
Because you ruin it every time.
You ruin it. All the chances you've been given. And this is another example of how self-destructive she is. And actually, although Claire Sweeney is so talented and charismatic and charming, the actual character of Cassie is incredibly sad. Because no matter what she does, it feels like she's on a course always to ruin it for herself.
Yeah, it is sad.
It is really sad.
Can I put a nomination out, and I don't know whether, you know, we can do this, for Mason? Has he been assassinated by redeeming him. Because a year ago, he was like a really great villain, you know, love to hate him. He was abhorrent the way that he was treating Liam and even Dylan as well. Is it a character assassination to turn a character like that and make them kind of lovable? What do you think?
I don't think it's a character assassination.
Why?
But this is. It was just a storytelling technique, wasn't it, to make us feel bad about him being killed.
Yeah.
Rather than anything else.
Yeah. But you don't take a villain and say, "Oh, I'm going to make you nice now." It's narratively unsatisfying. But I think the way that things ended up this year, it clearly wasn't. But
you can't change the meaning of the word assassination to make it into something you do to a positive.
No, I don't know. I think some people might disagree, but I'm happy to not go with them.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I think it's good. Thank you for bringing it up.
You're welcome.
I'm not going to accept it as a.
I'm kind of leaning more towards Glenda because
yeah,
even though she's fortunately come out the other end, that period over the months in the summer, they really did a number on her.
Left a nasty taste in my mouth about the character.
Yeah.
But luckily, I think Jodie Prenger is such fun that I've forgotten about it now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to cause any lasting damage.
Oh no, I don't think so.
And I think that the other characters we've mentioned, I think that it's just an amplification of elements of their characters that already existed, rather than changing in any significant
way. There you go, Glenda.
There you go, Glenda. What's your problem?
Right. What's next?
Rover's rubbish return.
Oh, the Rover's rubbish return. We had a ton of returns in Coronation Street in 2021. A lot of them were minor, but which one
now,
just
this
was
is
a bit... No, he needn't have bothered, really.
Now, this is interesting because obviously a lot of these very small returns do feel like part of a cost-saving exercise from ITV, where they kind of like getting, and this is not to disparage anybody, but it's going to cost a bit less, isn't it, to bring people back in than it is to employ somebody for a whole year. So we had lots of people coming back.
Some of them are minor, and I think some of the likes of Estelle, Linda, Nikki. I don't think they can really count.
Estelle is
Estelle's Ruthie Henshaw, Glenda's little big shots. I mean, she came back for an episode, and Linda
is the fancy grandma.
Yes.
And Nikki was the sex worker.
Nikki Cardigan, yeah.
Who's now a advocate.
Yes.
And then we had Stefan, who came back to get firebombed.
Was that a rubber's return for him? The thing is, I think to be a Rover's rubbish return, there's got to be some element of anticipation and excitement that is then a letdown if their story doesn't do what you'd hoped it to be. And I don't think anyone was like, "Oh, brilliant, Stefan's back. This is going to be amazing." I think there was a bit of a letdown, the fact that Corrie was mentioned as part of it, and Corrie's on TV, Corrie's in a documentary. Everybody loves Corrie, but we didn't actually see any of Corrie at all. So yeah, I wouldn't say that they would particularly count. So I mean, the big returns, Bethany.
Well, hang on. These are just returns, not necessarily rubbish ones, right?
Yeah.
So just go through them.
Bethany came back this year. We had, Violet was a fairly trumped return, wasn't it? It's like this character's not been in it for 10, 12 years. Can't remember what it was. Look at this. You got people like Clayton. He was in it for a little bit, but it was felt fairly major. Richard Hillman, clearly a huge return, if only it was only for a couple of scenes. Jessie, that was a fairly large return, wasn't it? Jessie Chadwick for Gemma's forgotten who he is already.
I was thinking a girl. I was like, who's Jessie?
No. But again, character's not been in it for 10 years.
Alina.
Alina. That's worth discuss.
Damon, Nathan.
Okay. Any of those just leave a particular bad taste in your mouth?
Not a bad taste, but just it didn't live up to potential or expectations. And I think Alina.
I was going to say not Alina.
Really?
I enjoyed her while she was in it. My disappointment with the story.
With the ending.
Yeah, my disappointment with the story is that she didn't stay for longer.
When we imagined her coming back, we always did think she would come back as a regular character. Do you not think so?
I think so.
Even if it wasn't like, oh, she's going to be in it for 10 years. It was like, oh, she'll come back for And she'll come back pregnant, which makes her significant, and maybe she will knock about until she gets murdered inevitably in the Weatherfield's Young Mum Club of deceased women.
Overall, I enjoyed the story. I like the number 9 clan. Dorrin was obviously a total sweetheart, and I think there were, even though the ending felt like it came out of nowhere and I was expecting a bit more, what we actually got from that story, I actually quite enjoyed watching, and I'd feel bad giving it to her when, it led to some fun scenes. I'd be kind of leaning more towards, Violet. I think that was a rubbish return. Jenny Platt is a talented actress. Violet was a favourite character, and I remember lots of people being so excited when they heard that Violet was coming back. And this is like a legacy name, not from, proper classic Coronation Street, but the era, 10 years ago, tram crash time. I can't remember exactly when it was she was in it. Good point. But she was only in it for a few episodes, and to bring back a character from that far in the past that people were excited about, only to do literally nothing with her, have her turn up for a couple of court scenes and that's about it, it just screamed missed opportunity. She didn't have a scene with Ken and call him sir. She didn't talk to... she was very much trapped within the confines of that little story with a lot of number 11. So for me, that really was quite a rubbish return.
Well, you were really looking forward to it more than I was.
I mean, Violet was never, a huge favourite character for me.
But it was an era that you enjoyed.
Yeah. To bring back a character from that era, it just felt like it missed potential. The story for me could have worked pretty well just the same without her coming back.
Yeah.
Which I couldn't say with, Alina or anyone like that.
I can't really... honestly, I don't think most of the other characters who came back were really disappointing.
Tommy certainly wasn't. We don't think we've mentioned him yet. That was the opposite of a rubbish return, because actually you took a character who I was like not fussed whatsoever about, and they actually did quite a good job of giving him a personality. So I'm not giving it to him.
I think it was good.
Even Bethany's return wasn't rubbish. She was frustrating at times, but she led... There were some great Bethany moments during the year. I enjoyed the cattiness between her and Daisy.
ragging on her.
Yeah, I like that as well. I fairly enjoyed the turkey scenes as well, to be honest. Damon...
Oh, God.
My
brain is not working properly. I was like, what? We didn't have a Christmas dinner.
The country, darling, not the food.
You say turkey to me and I just think gravy.
Griff? That wasn't rubbish, was it? That was quite fun.
It was dramatic.
Richard?
No,
not rubbish whatsoever. So for me...
sorry, Violet. I think
Violet was the rubbish return this year. The thing is, I still think that we might see more of her this year, especially with what Dylan's going to go through with his eventual sentencing.
I don't know.
It just... I look at Violet's return last year and I think, what was the point of that? But, maybe in soap, in an ideal world, you would have these characters coming in for all the events.
Well,
we always say, when there's a wedding, you have characters calling up and say, sorry, I can't come to the wedding, or I'm too sad to come to the funeral.
But listen, this is what the trouble with that is, right? And what you're saying about Violet makes me think this would be the case. So, were there to be... I'm trying to think of a character who's not actually going to die, who we can talk about. Say, I'm trying to think of somebody.
So your mind clouded with spoilers at the moment.
Mate, just say Ken dies, and then they were like, no, it doesn't work because I can't think of anyone would come back.
Peter.
Yeah, say that Peter comes in for one, he turns up and he eats a sandwich and he says, I'm sad my dad's dead, and then he went. Everyone would be like, what the hell was the point? It's stupid. But that is literally what would happen.
Yeah.
In real life, you would just, pitch up and be like, oh, sorry, I didn't know you were filming a television show. I don't want to be in it anymore. I'm going.
Just going to go and visit Carla. What the heck is that? Yeah, oh, but still, I think I felt...
dialysis machine, Michael.
Yes, of course. I felt most let down by Violet's return in that it was some untapped potential, maybe.
It just seemed to undermine... It just seemed to be the purpose to undermine Sean's confidence, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Right.
Okay. I think we've only got one award left. It's certainly not the most exciting of awards. We don't put them in order of leading up to the big one. But the final award that we've got left is the Weatherfield Wayfarer Award, where we say... And I don't think we got that great many nominations this year. It's the award for the silliest absence for the show. Is that
so? Somebody
is that right?
goes, yeah, somebody who buggers off, and you're like, oh, they've left the show, and then they come back and go, oh no.
Yeah, and it's
I was
also like the
just
reason
over there.
that they give for somebody leaving. Sometimes actors have to leave the show for a bit. Maybe they're taking a bit of a break. Maybe they're going in I'm a Celebrity. And Coronation Street's writer's task is to come up with a believable reason for them to be off screen for a little bit. But often those reasons just don't really make sense. I don't think that we had very many of those in 2024, to be honest. I mean, obviously the big one was Alia having to disappear off so that Sarah could go and have a baby. And going off to Ireland to study law
Doesn't make sense.
A character who, wasn't particularly on that trajectory to become a lawyer herself. But it's not the most, I think of some of the more outrageous ones that we had like a few years ago when Roy, after the Coronation Street debacle, went to South America for a little bit. That was a clear Weatherfield Wayfarer. What the heck was that?
But Alia, what you can't study English law in Ireland.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it felt very silly. Unless she was specialised, it would have made sense if she was like, I want to specialise in Irish law, because a lot of people in that part of England, in Manchester, Liverpool and everywhere, there's quite a lot of links to Ireland. And you might need somebody who specialised in Irish law to do some kind of negotiation, a business thing, or, property sales, or some kind of boring, thing where you have to integrate these two legal systems. Would have made sense, but no, she just went there to learn from the great big book of law that Adam gave her. Like British Law for Dummies or whatever.
What about...
You couldn't even go to Scotland to learn law, could you? Because they have a different system. That's what's kind of baffling about it.
Other characters that have been off screen for a little bit, like Summer, when she went to America, that was odd because she did end up coming back in time for Paul's death, and I don't know what was going on behind the scenes there that meant that Summer had to be in America, because it certainly, to me, didn't seem like it was really important for the storyline that she wasn't there.
When they went on about it, we thought, oh, this is going to be significant in some way because she's going to miss Paul's death, or what hard decisions she's having to make.
Actually, she just came back after a bit.
It's kind of like what happened
bottled boyfriend
with Felix. It's kind of like what happened with Bernie when she went to. I've got to go to prison, even though I think Paul might die. It's like, okay, oh no, this is going to be terrible, and it's like, oh no, it's fine in the end.
Still kept on going for another 9 months.
It was, and then even when Summer came back, she wasn't in it that much, because I thought, okay, maybe they have to get rid of that character, because in the same way that, not that I'm comparing her to a child particularly, but in the same way that it's like, oh, where's Alfie? He's at his childminders. To explain why she's not there when Paul and Billy are having, important moments. But when she came back, she wasn't even that big of a deal, so I don't know why she couldn't have just been sat in a cafe for 2 months.
Yeah, no, I don't get it.
Or just not in it, and you're like, oh, Summer, you just missed Summer, or Summer's over. Honestly, and I'm sorry to say this, the vast majority of characters you don't even realise aren't there. When they're not on the screen, you don't think about them. If they're not having a storyline, I don't think about where is Brian. I don't think about where is Jenny. I like those characters when they're in the show, but when they're not in it, I'm not like, because the cast is so enormous. I know they can't be in every episode. You don't need to make an excuse for this or an alibi as to why they're not in the show.
Yeah. Tracy's been off our screen quite a lot this year. She's been in Spain, hasn't she? And was that a good idea to have her fall for Tommy and then Tommy be poached by a Spanish football club, despite the fact that maybe he's not as hot property as he used to be? Is that a bit of a stretching the credulity to have them go over there for a bit?
I sort of like that for Tracy. I kind of like that, but equally now they've made out that she's in Cheshire. And I think Spain and Cheshire are pretty much of a muchness when it comes to being exotic.
Just a bit more paella in one of them.
Oh, I don't know how much paella they have in Cheshire. It's probably very popular.
Yeah, that one doesn't stand out to me too much. I mean, obviously we've got the whole Lauren goes missing thing. Does that count as a Weatherfield Wayfarer? the fact that she was off our screens, and then it turned out that it was nothing. She was just, we've already...
It wasn't nothing.
We've already talked extensively about the ridiculousness of her survival from Joel's attack.
Okay, one of the ones that really sticks in my craw is when Gemma went to Portsmouth.
And then came back with some
with
new hair.
With a wig. Like, number one, let's just admit, everybody, Portsmouth is a dump.
Gemma, showing your Southampton.
I'm just joking. We're all South Coast. We should all stick together. But like,
Solent City.
It doesn't really make sense that she went all the way to Portsmouth, and also they don't have any money. And the whole thing about her being too sad to go to work really annoyed me, because I found it's patronising to everybody who has to go to work, who's also grieving, because you get about 2 weeks. And she was, I don't know if she was being bankrolled by Jenny or not, but why would Jenny give her money for nothing when she's in debt to Carla? That's silly. Not going to work when you have a family of 5 children to look after, one of whom is in private school. Are you kidding me? And then she went to Portsmouth and came out with different hair.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any that was really silly, and I'm sure that Dolly Rose Campbell took time off or something, and they wanted to make a reason why she wasn't on screen. But again, I don't need you to give me an alibi for every single person who's not on the screen. I would just assume she was at work. Couldn't you have just said she was at work?
Yeah, or in the bog.
She's at the bog.
She's having a waz.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of our main contenders. We've got a few other characters, like Roy went to Scarborough for a bit, Stu went to Germany. I don't think there's anything inherently silly about that. I'm
really going to push for Gemma, because it also...
Gemma's unexpected or unnecessary trip to Portsmouth.
And then when she came back, then they had a 2-week holiday to a cottage that somehow somebody knew that their mate owned a cottage, so they all went on holiday again. It's just insulting. It's just genuinely insulting to people that struggle with money and have a big family that they have to look after, that you have her swanning about.
So not Arlia going to study law in Ireland then?
No.
I'll go with Gemma if you want to. Gemma's bizarro trip to Portsmouth. Fine.
If Arlia wanted to study law somewhere, all free of distractions, she could have just gone to Starbucks.
This is true. I think that maybe when we come to the Bobbins Awards 2025, Evelyn's upping and leaving to suddenly become a mature student and study law. That's definitely going to be up there in contention, isn't it? But let's park that for 12 months. Okay.
Are you writing this down, Michael?
I am. I've made some notes for next year's ones already. So
plenty of stuff that's
Gemma
happening.
going to Portsmouth and coming back with new hair. There you go. You've won.
I think a lot of people think that maybe. I mean, is that a this year thing? The hair, or was it in December?
Yeah, no, it was last year.
That hair is probably the stupidest thing that's happened in Coronation Street.
She needs to get some wig tips from Jenny. It
doesn't even look anything like the hair she had before. That's the big problem.
Well, she made a point of saying to Chesney, didn't she? Aren't you going to say anything about my new hair? Because it was a bit of a...
But why did
it would have been an elephant in a room if she didn't mention it at all.
Look, the reason why it's happened is because Dolly Rose Campbell, she cut her hair. But I don't understand why Gemma couldn't have short hair.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. If she's like, loads of women, when they have children, cut their hair because they find it difficult to keep...
in mourning of their
beauty
of their
and
singledom, yeah.
Yeah, it's a practical hairstyle for somebody who's supposed to be so bloody busy that they ain't got 5 minutes to go to Portsmouth.
Yeah, but she's got to be a glamorous... barmaid.
Mind you, I tell you what, the hairdressers of Portsmouth, maybe they're to blame.
Okay, look, I think we're done. I think that's enough bobbinsing for a year. Sorry, Coronation Street. We know we love you, really, don't you?
You got to just get it off your chest.
You just got to get it off your chest.
I'm sure lots of people have got other things that they had a bit of a niggle with this year.
Yeah, please do write in and let us know if there's anything that we missed.
Bobbins. You can have your own ones as well.
You can make up your own categories if you want. I think the Bobbins Awards, we've kept the same categories for the last few years, but I would say they can be quite fluid as well. So if there's anything you just want to get off your chest about the last year in Coronation Street in a fun, tongue-in-cheek way.
Yeah, let's not get upset.
It's
not supposed to be really deep, even though it went a bit that way a couple of times.
A couple of times maybe, but well, what are you going to do? Anyway,
thank you for listening.
Onwards and upwards for 2025. Honestly, I'm loving what we've got so far in 2025, Corrie.
It's been fun so far. There's a lot more to come.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's drama afoot, and we'll find out more about it as the year goes on.
But I'm sure equally there'll be enough that will make a great Bobbins episode at the beginning of 2025 as well.
Can't wait.
Thank you everybody for listening, and we'll be back very soon with our thoughts on this week's Coronation Street. But until then, goodbye from me.
Bye.
Bye.